Good evening everyone, Stuart here from FGM eCast, and it is Thursday night. Thursday night means ANZCAR Cup night, and tonight we head to Charlotte. We've got a 200 lap high speed special event here for you tonight as part of the ANZCAR Cup series. So it isn't a fixed setup race tonight, we have open setups, and we're looking to see whether or not Michael Skurlock can get the Triple Crown here and take home that sim rig that is on the line. The pressure's going to be on him a little bit in the Crank Esports 350. There's plenty of others who are looking to stop him in his tracks. So let's get the intro started, get on with this one, and let's see how the night pans out for this ANZCAR Cup race from Charlotte on FGM eCast.
Let me know us.
Good evening everyone, welcome to FGM eCast presenting ANZCAR Cup Series. We are at Charlotte. A few technical issues means we're straight into the warm-up here, so we're going to quickly run through the grid. We'll get into pleasantries later and get on with the details. It is Neil Pearson, Josh Mickelmore who've taken out the front row of this one, with Jason Martin, Hamish Gallagher off row 2. We've got Joshua Carroll Walden and Michael Skurlock off row 3, with Philip Worley and Ed Foster off row 4. Andrew Dyson, Lachlan Erpio off row 5, with Jason Hardigan and Daniel G off row 6. Quickly skip through as many as we can here. Riley Curtis, Dave Douglas off 7. We've got Trehair Otto off 8. Griffith Stoutnack off 9, with Phelps and Schultz off 10. Witcher Jaeger 11. We've got Rousey at Roselle, my apologies, and Clark off 12. Followed by Raymond Patton, Jackson, Neil, Robbie, and Steve Williams, rounding out our 30 charges tonight for this 200 lap epic at Charlotte. We're about to go green. I'm joined by Carl with you tonight. Carl, welcome to this event. 200 laps here. What do we got to look forward to?
Absolutely, it's going to be a big one. Of course, this counts to the Grand Slam. Neil Pearson is going to lead away, but Scully is going to want to get this one. The pace car has come in, and we will be going green here at Charlotte for 200 laps in a second. Away they go. Neil Pearson drops the loud pedal, gets a good start over the two Mitch Motorsport cars behind him. Skurlock is looking pretty chasey behind Hamish Gallagher at the moment. He's on the high line. Joshua Carroll Walden on the low line at the moment. They're not going to want to push too hard. A long way to go in this race.
Absolutely, we've got 200 laps here, and as we say, Neil Pearson getting a cracking start there. Jason Martin just down on that inside line. You can see JCW just below Michael Skurlock in the 350. Those two will have a good solid battle here. Open setups tonight as well, so drivers put in a lot of time into getting their cars ready for tonight's race. Different to normal where it is a closed setup, so everyone here running what they brung, literally, as we get through lap 2. Phil Otto's jumped into pit lane. Joshua Carroll Walden there just getting down on the apron, so he just getting a little low there, getting pressed as well by, I think it's Phil Worley behind him. In fact, it's Andrew Dyson as well. So the two DPR entries there, quite pacey just at the start of this race, only 2 laps in.
Yeah, Lachlan Erpio just had a little bit of a rough start as Aidan Schultz just had a very close moment to the wall, but Lachlan Erpio just rubbed the wall a little bit on that start after a very stellar qualifying session there. 2 wide with JCW and Michael Skurlock at the moment. JCW and Philip Worley at the moment. Worley manages to get up in front of JCW there. Good little move from Philip Worley. As you said, open setup tonight. This is going to change a lot for these drivers, because it all depends how you set the car up. At the moment, got to say, Mitch Motorsport are looking very strong. They've got 3 of their cars in the top 5 at the moment, but that could all change later in the run, because you might see some cars set up for a longer run pace rather than short run pace.
Yeah, certainly introduces a different complex to the night tonight, to what we're used to seeing, everyone on the same strategy, everyone with the same setup. So the Mitch Motorsport boys were quick here last night in the Xfinity Series, taking out a 1-2 again. 2 out of 3 weeks for them where they've managed to achieve that feat. They did repeat that the following night as well. So look out for Josh Mickelmore. He was the bridesmaid again last night, but he has been pushing on the door to take out a race win here, and he's already looking strong, with Jason Martin, of course, race winner as well, in 3rd place right behind him, and Hamish Gallagher there as well. So they've had a really strong start.
Yeah, good start for them. It looks like Phil Otto might be having some issues, unfortunately. It looks like he might be out early. Some connectivity issues, unfortunately, on his behalf. So, unfortunate to see that from Phil. And that's a real shame. He had a good qualifying session, and those DPR cars are looking relatively strong at the moment. Another guy that's doing a good job. We saw him do a very good last night in the Xfinity Series. Ruben Phelps down there in 16th position at the moment. He's gained a few spots. He's one of the few cars out there without teammates, so he's one of the lone warriors out there tonight, which does, makes it a little bit harder when you don't have some teammates around you to help with setup.
Yeah, of course, another one of those. Dave Douglas in the 199 entry. He had a good night last night here as well. A lot of the drivers, as you'll hear, did run last night in our Xfinity Series, and they've got a 125 lap race under their belts. So tonight a little bit easier, but of course these things are completely different beasts to drive. So Dave Douglas, another one of those drivers who had a really strong performance last night, up 15 or 16 spots in that race, and already making progress here, up 1 spot from his start. Aiden Schultz as well, up 6 positions directly behind him in the 52 Crank Esports car. That team there added to that team with Prue Gooding joining as their first female recruit, so congratulations to Prue joining the Crank Esports team. That was announced last week after the broadcast, so more growth there for Crank Esports guys, but Aiden Schultz up 6 positions, currently in 14th place.
Yeah, Michael Scullock dropped down a little bit there. He's just dropped past Wally and JCW, so he's dropped down a couple of positions. Wondering if we just had a bit of a mistake there from Scully. Just looks like he's just eased out a little bit, maybe. But he's dropped a couple of positions there. As soon as you mentioned Crank Esports, something happens. I think he just caught a little bit of the curb and just had a little bit of loss of speed on that low line. So he just dropped quite quickly there. So keep an eye out for that one. Unfortunately, Phil Otto, it was a computer issue. His computer crashed on him, sadly. So he is out of this one currently. So big shame for Phil there, but his teammate Neil Pearson is leading the race at the moment in the DPR Sim Race car. Philip Worley there in 5th position. What we were saying before, the Mitch Motorsport cars are looking strong with 3 cars in the top 5. Well, now we have 2 DPR cars in the top 5, so look out for them in this race. It looks like they've got some good longer run pace. Andrew Dyson in the top 10 as well, and we know Dyson has been on an absolute charger this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Teammates are plenty here, as you mentioned that. Of course, Hamish Gallagher in the Natari, sorry, my apologies, Joshua Carroll Walden. I was looking at the wrong thing. Joshua Carroll Walden in the 35 Natari Autosports entry. He's got his teammate Edward Foster currently inside the top 10 as well. So there's teammates are plenty throughout this top 10, which is going to help. We saw the impact of the draft last night and drivers working together to catch up to the lead pack that formed. So all important to play the teammate game. Talking about Michael Skurlock there with that drop down, potentially on just a slightly different strategy to everyone else, managing tyres perhaps. We believe the fuel range here is around about 60 laps. We did see 59 laps under green flag last night in the Xfinity cars as well. So range here we believe is around about that 60 lap mark, and because it's such a long track, of course, not necessarily as conducive to cautions, even though it is a high-speed track.
Yeah, very much so. Speaking of Atari, they've also got Jason Hartigan in the field as well. It's nice to have Jason back in the field. Very fast driver in the 51 car. He's just sitting behind Foster at the moment, so they're looking good. They've got 3 of their cars in the top 10 as well, so you can sort of see how the team game plays out there. In the top 10, it is all teammates at the moment. There's not a single lone runner out there. The closest we've got is Dave Douglas down in 13th position, but he's got Aiden Schultz all over the back of him at the moment. So he's the sort of closest solo warrior out there tonight, but the teammates definitely do help. And of course, Charlotte, of course, the home of the Coca-Cola 600, of course, a part of the Grand Slam this year. So obviously 3 wins from the Grand Slam this year will net you some nice equipment as well. And the man that has 2 of those wins is Michael Skurlock, so he's going to be hoping for a strong night tonight, but I won't put the curse on him too much. I'll try not to talk about him too much, and hopefully help him out in this race a little bit.
Absolutely. We just see a move there, Barry Neal and Mirko Dirtnak having a little dance together, going 3 wide with the 23 of Raymond Jaeger there, the Activity Hub Bali entry, and they managed to get through all that pretty comfortably. It looked like Barry might have had a small hiccup there because Mirko closed down on him at a rate of knots as Adam Rosell jumps into pit lane. It's obviously a very, very early unscheduled stop. So this is the battle here for 19th, 20th and 21st. Just going to jump up here as well to have a look at Danny G and Andrew Dyson, so another Mitch Motorsport entry inside the top 10, and he's got Andrew Dyson closing on him. Michael Skurlock going around the outside on Joshua Carroll Walden, so that is a move there just to defend that position, and you can see up at the front here things tightening up as well. So it is a Mitch Motorsport train behind the DPR entry, Simrix.com entry of Neil Pearson.
Yeah, there's a bit of a second pack forming. Ruben Phelps, the lead of that at the moment, trying to chase down Aidan Schultz. So there's a little pack there between Ruben of Scott Griffiths, Lachlan Oakley and Riley Curtis there. Just behind them, you've got Mirko Dortnak fitting with that sort of third pack at the moment. Barry Neal in the Aratora racing team car, that beautiful Kiwi Maori-inspired livery there. One of my favourite liveries out there, I've got to say. And then a few of the Activity Hub Barley cars behind him as well. So quite a few cars out there, just starting to separate a little bit. But as you say, there's that absolute train of Mitch Motorsport cars right behind Neil Pearson at the moment. So he's not getting much. He's not going to have much help from teammates at the moment. But Philip Worley is doing his best to try and close that gap up a little bit, to get up there and start closing in a little bit. His teammate Danny G has just got past Joshua Carroll Walden as well for 7th position, so he's working up the field a little bit, just gaining a few positions as they go.
We did see last night as well that the lead car fell away quite quickly in terms of lap pace, and I think the Mitch Motorsport boys will be quite happy here to just be 2nd, 3rd and 4th in their little train, just following along behind Neil Pearson as we get into lap 20.
Yeah, it's easy to, once you fall off sort of the trains here, it's easy to lose a lot of time, and luckily there's quite a good train of cars at the moment. But I've got to say, Matty Raymond at the moment, he's struggling a bit out there, unfortunately. He's lost the draft, he's right at the back. Adam Rosell has also dropped out, unfortunately, so something's happened to him. I'll just see if I can figure out what's happened. And looks like, again, possibly another technical issue, taking out another car, unfortunately. So that might be Adam Rosell's night over and done with too. So shame there. It's not fun when mechanical issues and mechanical gremlins come in, of course. It's a bit different from full metal racing. It's usually because cable's been pulled out or a PC's failed, which I guess happens in full metal racing as well quite a lot, but you don't tend to have your engine explode, things like that, but it is more so computers failing rather than that, but it is annoying when it happens.
Absolutely. I also heard once that the cat pulled out the cables, so there's all sorts of new reasons as to why people end up having failures in this race. One thing I did want to talk on tonight as well, a update overnight to the Chevrolet changed a lot of the driver setups late, and it was something to do with the drafting in that car, particularly I think it was that rear third or rear quarter panel drafting and the effect that it had on the aero of that car. A lot of the guys were saying that they were really struggling to get the Chevy set up properly for this track, so hopefully, and looking at where we're sitting at the moment with Chevrolets occupying the top 3 positions, and then 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th as well, that update looks to have fixed that issue. So that is only a good thing for tonight, of course.
Yeah, that's it. The trouble comes with that, of course, is the fact that you're sort of having to change setup very late in the day. So a few of the Chevy drivers will be feeling that a little bit. You could notice that a little bit here at the front with the Mitch Motorsport boys, because Micklemore and Martin, they both run the Chevy, while Hamish Gallagher there has got the Toyota. So same team, but different cars. And that, although sort of NASCAR is very much a sort of almost a spec series with how they do run a little bit differently, all these cars, and that can change things out a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see what difference it makes with the teammates there, just if that does affect them a little bit.
Absolutely, it will. Let's keep an eye on the battle between the brands. There is a difference here, understanding they are built on the same chassis base, but there's a little bit of difference between the aero, obviously, to you can see that big wing on the back of the Camry as we're on here with Mirko Dortnak, who's still battling away with Barry Neal. This is down in 19th and 20th position.
Yeah, good little battle
of the draft. Yeah,
going on there. Of course, the badge as well makes a difference. You know, that Toyota badge is a bit bigger than the Chevrolet badge, and the Ford badge is more of a sticker. So that changes the aero of the car, and big difference makers there.
Absolutely. I don't know how they allow for it. Let's do it in the setup. So Neil Pearson still comfortably out in front here. We're on to lap 26. It has been green so far. It was a good start from Pearson. It was a little rush start for us there with some technical issues with actually getting into the race server itself. So apologies for the rushed entry there for those of you watching, but obviously all good now. Neil Pearson took out pole position with a cracking qualifying lap. In fact, our top 4 places haven't changed at all yet from where they started this race, but Pearson had a really good start, got away nice and early. When it went green, opened up a good gap on Josh Mickelmore. But the Mitch boys, just there, you can see them in the background, just working together, keeping things nice and calm. We've got a long way to go here tonight at Charlotte.
There's a little bit of contact, between Dornack and Neil. If there was no contact there, then it was very close. Those two side by side at the moment, fighting over the P19 position. They are right next to each other, and it was so close between those two. I think there might have been just the tiniest little scratch of paint between Mirko and Barry there. So very close racing, and you can just see Barry Nell's just eased off a little bit. Phil Otto's managed to make it back out there in the number 1, so he's managed to make it back out there, so he'll hopefully get some points scored tonight. He's back 21 laps down, so he's unfortunately in that low position, but he's going to just keep circulating and just keep that car going now. Hopefully all the computer issues are fixed for him.
Not that he needs more experience racing, but nothing like getting some time out on track for that. So this is back out there with us, and keep an eye on him there.
Well, of course, the other thing as well is it does help with the older locking you in for next rounds, of course. We have said, we've explained it a little bit in the past, of course, but it's based off of the top 20 cars based off of their incident points and laps over the season that are locked in. Unfortunately, we had a few incidents early on, so we've had to cap the Cup cars to 30 cars just to help reduce cautions, and that's working very well tonight. But managing to go out there and complete some extra laps without any incident points will help you in the future as well. So it's not a bad idea to get out there and just get the laps done. Also, of course, it helps with championship points.
Just looking at the gaps here, Hamish Gallagher's fallen off the back a bit of his 2 teammates, and Phil Worley the same off the back of the Mitch boys. That gap was already there, but this pack here of Worley, Skurlock and Danny G just spread a little bit here. Looks like Skurlock's going to get the move done on Philip Worley. Can't just start lacking a little bit of pace at the moment, so maybe those tyres have plateaued. We're 31 laps in, about halfway through a full green stint, we believe. So maybe the shall we say timidness of Michael Skurlock at the start here, just managing the tyres on the crank car is starting to pay a little bit of dividends there. You can see him just pulling away from Worley, so we'll keep an eye on that with the other teammates a little bit further down the pack.
Yeah, just watching actually and listening, Josh Mickelmore is starting to struggle a little bit with the rear of that car. He's having to ease off a little bit earlier in the corner, just roll that car into the corner, ease it off a little bit, and that back end is just starting to get a little bit squirrely on him. You can see Jason Martin just getting very close there, and I think you might see Jason actually get position here over Mickelmore, because I think he's starting to just slow down a little bit and just struggle a little bit for the pace. He might be just easing off a little bit as well for fuel saving, and then they'll just swap positions there just so Jason can lead a little bit and help with Mickelmore's fuel numbers as well, of course, because when you're the car in front, you're going to use a little bit more fuel. So that might be also why we saw Philip Worley just dropping down a little bit. He's just dropped back behind Danny G as well, who's making his way up the pack. But it looks like Mickelmore is struggling a little bit out there at the moment. Jason Martin gets very close to the wall. So I think the rear tyres are just starting to just give them a little bit less grip than they will have wanted. But Michael Skurlock seems to be going pretty well at the moment. So again, we talk about the setup on the cars. It might be that his car just a little bit early in the stint doesn't quite warm up the tyres as quick as some of the others, so he just needs a couple of extra laps to get the car back to feeling, whereas others seem to work it out. speaking of working out, Dave Douglas has just made up another position. He's working his way up the field. He's just got up to 12th position, just getting past Jason Hartigan there, who is trying to battle his way back. Those two are giving a good little fight across the tri-oval section. The dog leg, I should say, Charlotte. But Douglas at the moment looks like he's got a little bit more pace, especially at this stage of the race. Up a bit further ahead from Dave Douglas is Foster, his Jason Hartigan's teammate, and he's just got passed by Luke Trahir as well. So it looks like the Natari cars are just starting to struggle a little bit in this stage of the stint.
Absolutely. So we see Luke Trahir there, another of the crankers, should we call them, but another one of the Crank Esports boys just making a move up one position there. So they're looking good. They're certainly lapping reasonably well in terms of pace. Michael Skurlock lapping up with the front runners. Neil Pearson still the fastest man out on track, but not by a lot. He has opened up a good 1 second gap over Jason Martin, so he's broken the draft there, and he is out on his lonesome at the front of this race. Jason Hartigan as well, still struggling a little there at Aiden Schultz, another one of the Crank boys, just making his way up onto the back of the 51 Natari Autosport car. So yeah, these Crank boys looking like they've got good pace in the midsection of a full green stint. So that is playing itself out now.
Yeah, just up at the front, Neil Pearson's just caught Matty Raymond there. So Matty Raymond, we're just going to watch, just drop back behind Pearson. And I imagine we'll see Matty just come down on the back and try and actually hook onto the back of Neil. Just try and actually get a nice bit of drafting here to try and actually catch up to the lead pack, because it doesn't look like Matty Ray's car's working quite as well as Pearson's. So the SRM boys not quite getting it working as much as they would want to out there at the moment. It might come back to him later in the stint though, of course, and as I say, this is the thing about when you're racing with mixed setups, when it's not a fixed up setup series and when it's not fixed setups, is you sometimes set the car up to be a bit better later in the stint. Sometimes you just unfortunately get it wrong as well, which is never a fun feeling. It's Mirko Dortnak. Yeah, Mirko Dortnak has gone down on the infield there. He had a big moment coming into just across the dogleg. It looks like Justin Witcher might have just got underneath his rear end and lost. Basically, it just cost Mirko that rear downforce. So that was very close there for Mirko. He managed to control that car well, but really not fun when that happens.
He did well to control it there. He sort of slid back up off the apron onto the bottom lane of the track. A couple of guys just managed to avoid him there, and he just managed to pull it up, but no damage done there to his car or anyone else, fortunately, and he will get back into the race, albeit a few spots down in 24th position.
Yeah, just explaining what happened there, just so you get a bit of an understanding if you're sort of new to oval racing and to the series, is Justin Witcher did nothing wrong at all there. He was absolutely fine. He didn't make contact with Mirko, but what happened is he just came a little bit close to the rear spoiler of Mirko Dortnak, and it just effectively reduces the rear downforce of these cars, because they've got quite a bit of downforce, these Cup cars. And it just reduces that downforce, and all of a sudden the rear end just goes loose on you from nowhere, and then it's very hard to control them. And when that happens out of nowhere, when you're sort of, especially on the exit of a corner, like Mirko was just then, it can really catch you out. So if you don't know it's coming, it can really throw you out sometimes.
It's that whole when two become one, you get close enough that the air just continues over, and it doesn't pick up on that back wing and give you that downward pressure. So it can be kind of scary, and that's just what happened to Mirko there. So good driving from both of them out of a difficult situation.
Very much so, and that's the thing, Stuart. It's the whole thing is we see Hamish Gallagher and Josh Micklemore at the moment. They're running very close together as teammates, but they're sort of using that little bit of drafting of letting that pressure just go over the top of Micklemore's car and sort of not press back the rear wing so much, so they've both got a little bit more speed. And that's the whole skill of oval racing. It's a very different kettle of fish to what you're used to, but it can catch you out. A little bit further down, Barry Neal has just got past Riley Curtis. He's making the move right now on the Mark 1 esports car, getting the Atari car down underneath him and making that position. Looks like that car's coming a bit alive towards the end of this stint, so looks like they've got a good setup working for them later on in the stages. So we'll see how that one pays out for them as the race goes on, as we still have green flag racing on lap 44. We've had a good long stint of green. Jason Martin is catching up to Neil Pearson now. He's just got into the draft range up the front as well, so you're going to see Jason Martin just start closing in on Neil Pearson now. Neil as well will be a little bit lighter on fuel. He will just have a little bit less fuel being in the lead for so long. So you might be able to see, Jason Martin go a little bit longer, maybe about a 1 lap longer in the pit strategy if they stay out, but of course Pearson will be able to get some fresh tyres, so that's one other thing to watch out for as well, of course, because fresh tyres are going to make a bit of difference here tonight for that undercut capability. They do have 6 sets of tyres tonight rather than the 4 that we usually have for the Cup Series, because it is that bit longer race here at Charlotte for the Charlotte 200, so it does make a little bit difference in that respect. So they've got a little bit more to play with for the tyres, but you still have to watch out. You don't want to use them all up too quickly, and you want to have a set remaining just if there is a late caution.
There's Jason Martin now right up on the back of Neil Pearson. In fact, he's just pulling up alongside him here. He'll be able to get the job done, I wouldn't think, around the outside. Just a little bit of a push there on the 21. Okay, Pearson a little breather, but he's got a good run out of the corner. And he's now well and truly down the inside of Neil Pearson. He's going to get this job done, I think, and take over the lead of this race. Pearson not letting him have it, nor should he. I think Martin's going to get the run here, and he will, and close out that change of lead for this race on lap 48, as Jason Martin of Mitch Motorsport moves into P1. Pearson still just running with him here.
Jason just catching the lip of the apron.
There it goes.
All around. So he's managed to keep that car going. Very lucky there, because that could have been a big disaster. When you catch the apron, of course, it just really off balances the car, because there is a lot of camber on these tracks. He did a great job of saving that vehicle. That move was beautiful and textbook from Jason, just going up high in the first corner, just giving him a better run off the corner and using that draft to get past Pearson. But he went a little bit too low, just trying to defend that line, and it's just cost him that little bit. Just catching that apron has cost him that little bit of speed, so he's going to have to basically do it all over again now.
Yeah, definitely. But he was very, very pacey there. Pearson struggling a little bit now on the older tyres, so we've got about 11 laps to go before we start seeing people into pit lane. Barry Neal, meanwhile, still not struggling at all in the 22. He's now caught up on the back of Lachlan Urquio, who we welcome back this week, and he has got a very hard charging Barry Neal on his rear bumper. With Barry Neal, of course, is Justin Witcher as well in the Activity Hub Barley car. And he's looking a bit pacey at the moment too, so they're making their way up through the field. Barry Neal, our biggest mover so far this evening, up 11 spots, along with Stephen Williams. Old, quiet, sneaky Stephen Williams is on his way up through the field as well. He started down in 30th position, and he is currently up already into 19th.
We did see Justin Witcher actually getting the better of Barry Neal this time round. Barry tried to make the move on Lachlan, and just that back end just stepped out a little bit as he went down on the line. He had to just catch a little bit of a slide, lost a little bit of speed on the exit. That gave Justin Witcher the opportunity to get up past Barry Neal, but he's got a relatively good car out there at the moment, as Lachlan Urquhart just runs up a little bit high. He's got a little bit of damage on that front as well, Lockie, so that's going to be affecting his pace a tiny bit, as Justin Witcher makes contact with the wall there. Big moment for Witcher. He very lucky to save that one. That was almost a big moment. Again, very close to a caution, but not one yet. Neil Pearson still in the lead as Barry Neal comes into the pit lane.
First of our drivers to jump in on lap 51. So that is a little bit of a yardstick, so a quarter of the way through this race. Probably run, let's see, a little bit longer running from our leading pack, as there's doesn't seem to be too much of a drop off in pace now. We're into the 32s, so those tyres definitely starting to show signs, I imagine. Interestingly enough, the track here not quite as abrasive as some of the other tracks we run at, so the tyre wear not as bad even through the longer stint. That right hand front tyre not necessarily at risk of exploding, popping, exploding, something like that.
Popping, we'll go with popping. Up at the front, Jason Martin is right on the back of Pearson once more. Pearson leading pretty much all of this race, I think, other than one lap now. But Pearson doing a stellar job up there, but Jason Martin has definitely got some speed. He's really caught up to Pearson and is harassing him right now. Looks like Atori Autosport, they are doing the they're coming in, splitting a race into quarters, so they're coming in right on the 50s, so they'll be back in about 50 laps time, whereas everybody else is just staying out a bit longer just in case that caution flag flies. So they're running to a pace, running to their that time as Jason Martin goes up again high, and he's going to try and make the move for the lead as he's got that high run at the moment. That's going to give him better acceleration off the corner. He's up beside Neil Pearson at the moment. He's going to try for that high line once more. If he can get this held around Neil Pearson, he should have the drive off the corner and just be able to slide in front of Pearson and make that position count. He's got his teammate Josh Micklemore right behind Pearson at the moment as well. Foster coming into pit lane as well, so we've got some pit stops happening now.
That's a really good move on old tyres from Jason Martin, so just to move that around the outside nice and clean, get a good drive out of the corner, and he's already off and running, opening up a gap on top. And it looks like Josh Micklemore, who was struggling a little bit for rear grip partway through the stint, that has corrected itself because he equally is able to stick with Martin to get up onto the back of Neil Pearson, and Pearson now under pressure from Josh Micklemore, and Micklemore is going to try and make a pass here. Some cars re-entering, a little bit unsettling for Micklemore, albeit they're down below the line on the apron, car down on the inside there. When you're worried about the car on the outside, makes you try and split your vision a little bit.
Yeah, Micklemore actually just getting a big tank slapper there, just off the exit of turn number 2. He managed to save that car somehow, because that is not easy to do on old tyres, but that car got very wobbly very quickly. To give you an idea of the difference of pace at the moment, it's around about a second and a half to 2 seconds faster on fresh tyres. So that gives you an idea of the pace advantage on fresh tyres at the moment. So you might see somebody from the higher up the field think about an early pit stop to try and get a jump on these guys. Of course, you do run the risk of a caution flag coming out. If that caution comes out, it can absolutely ruin your night.
It looks like all the Natari Autosport boys have run through a pit stop with JCW, Foster and Hardigan. Norman Clark is the only one who hasn't for them. He's currently chasing down Mirko Doutnak, so expect to see him potentially in this lap if that is their strategy. And
we've got a battle right up front again, Stuart, between Micklemore and Pearson. Pearson looks to be dropping pace at the moment, sort of hemorrhaging a bit of pace as they go through, as they're getting through some of the cars that have stopped already. Micklemore has made the move on Pearson, and he's going to get up into second place. He's going to slot that car into that spot. He has got Jason Hardigan there as well. He's on fresh tyres, remember, so he's going to have a lot more pace. He's just going to be able to go around the outside of Micklemore. But of course, they're racing lapped cars now. Neil Pearson's teammate is just up there as well. I think that might be who is that?
Otto,
sorry,
I think it is.
Otto. Yeah, that's Phil Otto there. So it's a few laps down, but he's just going to sort of stick right up the top line, just let a few people past. But they are all racing each other, and of course, no blue flags in oval racing. Those don't exist. Well, they can sometimes exist, but they don't get looked at all, and they are just generally ignored because you do not have to abide by the blue flag rules here. Of course, you are racing for position. You might be a lap down, but that can be the difference between winning a race and losing a race sometimes.
And Neil Pearson's going to have to make a decision here about when he pulls the trigger and jumps into pit lane. So he's hemorrhaging time a little here at the moment. Last lap around, he was 3/10 slower than Micklemore and Martin in front of him, and you can visually see that on track. as well with Hamish Gallagher here. He's just going to drive by the number 9 on the inside. Neither of these cars have jumped through pit lane, so that just gives you an indication of how well these Mitch cars are looking after their tyres. And in fact, 24 of Danny G now right up on the back of Pearson 2, so he is dropping rapidly back through the field, which will not be what he is wanting to do, so wouldn't be surprised if he jumps in the next lap or so.
Hamish Gallagher just running up a bit wide as Stephen Williams just gets underneath him through the corner. Stevie Dub on the fresh tyres, of course, and you can sort of see the real difference of the fresh tyres. They are making a huge difference, but Neil Pearson is dropping like a stone at the moment. He's really struggling for pace as Danny G does get past him, so I imagine we'll see Pearson looking at coming in relatively soon. I think he's going to run it as long as he can on fuel, so he's going to try a little bit longer, but I think he might be coming in now as I watch him. So I think Pearson's going to come in this time round, and this is going to be the sort of jumping point for a few of these drivers up in the top 10, because they're going to need to start thinking about pitting now to cover off Pearson. Longer you stay out there, of course, means the fresher your tyres are towards the end of the stint. So we know there's not a huge drop-off on tyre pace here, so it can sometimes be good to leave it out a little bit longer, go that bit longer, keep the tyres fresher for later in the stint. So with that, you sort of use the overcut rather than the undercut technique. But that's yeah, it's going to be tricky. Pearson's going to gain that lead back, I'd say, if we remain green. But we're probably going to see the Mitch Motorsport boys do a lot better later in the stint.
Yeah, and of course, we're not sure there with Pearson. I imagine that the mindset was because of the tyres more so than the fuel, but he led a majority of that stint, so he may be struggling in terms of fuel as well against the Mitch boys, as I think it was just their Mirko Doutnak just locking up in a plume of smoke on the way into pit lane. But I'm not sure how much of that was fuel related as much as tyres. I imagine more so tyres, given the pace that he was struggling with there, but he would have been a little less on fuel than the Mitch boys as well, who for a majority of this race have formed the Melbourne to Geelong train, and just managing to manage the race quite well so far.
Yeah, they're doing a great job. They've got about a 3-second lead over Michael Skurlock, who's got his teammate Luke Traher next to him. As Skurlock's coming into pit lane, Philip Worley making a bit of a mistake. I think he's just had a big tail step out and managed to save that car, and he's going to come into pit lane as well now. But Skurlock has come into pit lane. So we're going to see, I think we're going to see all the leaders coming in now. I think this is the time on fuel. So I think we're going to see a lot of those lead cars coming in this time round. So we're going to have a big jump to pit lane. Hamish Gallagher staying out there. So he's managed to save about an extra lap of fuel, I'd say, just because he was sitting behind his teammates pretty much all race long.
Yes, you called it right. So Martin Mickelmore, Danny G, Luke Traher, Andrew Dyson now into pit lane. And those guys that pitted a little earlier will be breathing a heavy sigh of relief. We saw last night 3 or 4 cars drop a lap because they pitted just before the first caution of the night and got caught out. So the rest of the field happy here to get through without a caution period, as Hamish Gallagher now drops down into pit lane as well. So that's going to give the effective race lead at this point in time, I think, to JCW. Yes, it will. Evan Foster in second, of course, having pitted. Where are we? Some nearly 15. What are we looking at? Yes, 15 laps earlier. So they will certainly struggle for pace a little bit towards the end of the stint.
Yeah, that's it. They're sort of playing the splitting the race by 50 laps sort of game. You see as well, this has been good for Barry Neal. He's made up a fair few positions. Neil Pearson is back into 3rd position, I believe, just ahead of Foster at the moment. So 2nd now, sorry. So Pearson has made his way up to 2nd there, and is catching. He'll be catching JCW at a vast rate of knots as well with those fresher tyres. Barry Neal will be struggling a little bit as well with those tyres, just dropping off, but he's gained 24 positions in this stint. If a caution flag came out now, it wouldn't be terrible for Barry Neal.
No, in fact, it probably wouldn't be bad for Neal JCW and some of those earlier pitters. There's probably 5, 6, 7, 8 cars who pitted around that lap 50 mark, so they'd be quite happy with a caution at this point in time. One of those on screen there with Foster. He did pit on lap 55, so that would effectively help them reset, and that wouldn't be necessarily a bad thing from their perspective.
No, that is it. And well, one of the big things, of course, is those guys that stopped on around about lap 50. They struggle. You know, it's going to be sort of the coming into pit lane 3 times tonight, so they'll be sort of doing those stints, whereas the guys that pitted on like around like 68, they will be able to just take a little bit less fuel in their final stop. They'll be able to go to sort of around about 136, 37. They'll have to put a little bit more fuel on board, sorry, but they'll sort of just be able to get away with a little bit less time in pit lane, so it could be helpful for them towards the end of the race. So just watch out for that part as well. If we remain green, it could be very useful for them as they come back to the cars. So keep an eye out on those, because you're going to see Josh Micklemore and, well, the Mitch Motorsport train working its way up the field very quickly as Neil Pearson is taking back his lead. He's just getting underneath JCW at the moment. JCW doing a good job out there with the Atari 35, just keeping Pearson behind him for a little bit, but the tyre difference is too great there, and Pearson is going to take the lead back from this race. Pearson back to his P number 1, so he's going to be happy about that one. So he'll see how that one goes. Michael Skurlock has managed to gain a few positions. He stopped out a little bit earlier, as we said, so he's managed to jump the Mitch Motorsport boys. So he's gained a good little bit of time with that pit stop. So Skurly looking quite good at the moment and just working his way up the field. So keep an eye out for Skurlock.
So I think it's probably fair to say that he's effectively second position. So he pitted on 66. He's got the freshest set of tyres in the top 5 cars at the moment. So he's now chasing down Edward Foster about 3 seconds in front of him and JCW. And you saw the effect of Pearson's newer rubber in closing down that gap as well. So it wouldn't surprise me too far into the distance if Skurlock was actually in second place.
Yeah, that's it. We're going to see Skurlock get that P2. He's going to find it not too difficult. Well, I say not too difficult. It's never easy to pass Foster and Joshua Carroll and JCW, but with those fresh tyres, he won't have too much of a problem getting up past him. And we might see him closing that gap down on Pearson as well. That last lap round, Pearson was just a little bit slower than Skurly by about 0.4 of a second. So Skurlock has definitely got some pace out there. So he's going to start closing that gap up to P1 as well. So this could work out quite well for Skurlock, because he just pulled the pin a little bit earlier than the Mitch Motorsport boys by about 1 or 2 laps. So his tyres aren't too far off those guys, but they are much fresher than Neil Pearson, our leaders.
Yeah, and I just noticed as well in the stop that Josh Micklemore managed to jump a position on Jason Martin. So Martin was the race leader when our pit stops started effectively. So he's down in 7th position. That's not adjusted for pit lane lap, but he did get jumped there by Josh Micklemore in that pit lane process. So he is currently in 6th position. He just got past Barry Neal, and in fact Michael Skurlock has moved past Edward Foster into 3rd place as well.
Yeah, these positions are all subject to change very quickly. Skurlock is just absolutely eating that gap at the moment. He's dropped the gap from Neil Pearson by about a second in the past couple of laps. So he's going to catch up to JCW pretty quickly as well. We saw Neil Pearson just struggling towards the end of his stint, around about lap 40, I would say. So he's currently on about 15 laps, so he's about halfway to the stage where he started struggling last time, but he will be just that little bit off pace of Skurlock. So what Skurlock has to do now is just not take out too much life life out of the tyres. Just keep it in there, and just keep it going at the moment, as I think Mirko Dornak might just made a little bit of contact with the wall just up in front of Josh Micklemore. He's got a little bit of damage on the front of that crank car on the number 62. So a little bit of damage for Mirko, so he's going to be just a little bit off pace. You don't want too much damage on a fast track like Charlotte.
As Josh Micklemore just moves down underneath him there to get that pass done. It's not for position, and the 231 there of Paul Jackson, that is for position. Dortmund just getting probably a little bit of the benefit of the draft there from Micklemore and making that position change. So Dortmund now up into 23rd.
Yeah, good job with that damage on the front end, to say that's going to affect his top end speed, and yeah, it just drops it off a little bit and just changes the fuel efficiency of the old car. It's not what you want, it's not ideal, but it's not too much of a... It's sort of not too bad at the moment. It can be a lot worse. You don't want to get much more damage than that, but it definitely is going to be hindering him. Meanwhile, the battle up at the pointy end of the grid is starting to close down as Skurlock is chasing down Pearson. The gap is now 2.9 seconds. Lap times, Skurlock is still around about a tenth or so quicker than Pearson, but those times are starting to even out a little bit as this stint goes on. So we'll keep an eye on that one, as there are still a fair few battles throughout the field. I think Jason Hartigan having a good little battle with the 51 down there, and Stephen Williams getting past him in the DPR car. Stephen Williams get up 15 positions in that car. He started dead last, and he's now up to the middle of the pack. Of course, the Series 1 truck champion of this year, Stephen Williams. So definitely one of the drivers to watch out for. A very strong competitor, and we see it often with Stevie Dub. He is one of those drivers that is very good at just managing his car and keeping it going, and just quietly working his way up the field.
Absolutely. As we jump back here to Lachlan Urquio and Riley Curtis, they're also having a good tussle over 17th and 18th position. This one's been going for a little while, just keeping an eye on it in the background there, just dropping off a little bit there, Riley Curtis, and but we'll keep an eye on this one as it develops.
Lachlan on much fresher tyres as well, so Lockie's tyres are about 10 laps fresher than Riley's, so he should have a fair bit more pace over Curtis. Meanwhile, Micklemore is working his way up the field as well. Foster's just dropped down a few positions. He's just got passed by Danny G as well now, and you're going to see Hamish Gallagher just absolutely muscling his way past Foster as well. So no bad blood between those two drivers at the moment. That was a nice clean pass, but Gallagher getting up there, and he's going to sit behind Danny G as well. Just go that little bit longer on fuel once more for Hamish Gallagher, I'd say. Meanwhile, we've got a battle between Micklemore and Carol Walden, the two Josh Ewers up front. They are battling it out for P3 and P4 at the moment. Micklemore has got that low line, and Carol Walden on the high line, but he is on those much older tyres.
Yeah, and the other one who will be looking to take advantage of this here is Jason Martin. He probably would have liked to be a little bit closer to Micklemore when this move took place, just so that he could get the draft and probably try and go with his teammate. He'll not want to drop too far off the back of Micklemore. They want to work together again to catch up to Michael Skurlock in front of them, and of course Jason Martin and Danny G there as well, so they could again form that Mitch Motorsport train and just get that additional benefit that you get from being in the draft, working together in a pack. So Jason Martin there not taking too long to get past Joshua Carroll Walden with those newer tyres, and then we wanted to jump back onto the back of Josh Micklemore as quickly as he can as they continue their chase to the front of the pack.
He's doing a pretty good job out there. Barry Neal at the moment, he's just got passed by Philip Worley, but he's doing a good job of keeping that car going. He stopped relatively early, so he's on the oldest tyres out of pretty much everybody in... well, pretty much everybody in the field. Is just Foster's tyres are a little bit younger than his by about for 3 laps or so. But Barry Neal doing a good job of keeping that car up there. He's in top 10 now, so he's just got to keep that car going, just keep it in with a chance. He's got Andrew Dyson a few seconds behind him now, so he's managed to do a good job of getting that car up there and work it in there, because he started 28th, he's up into 10th at the moment, 18 positions gained for him, so good job so far on strategy. But we do know he's going to be one of the first cars into pit lane, as I think... Nope, he's still going around this time round. I just heard a big lift off there, so his back end of that car has just started to get a little bit loose, I think.
Riley Curtis, the other one out there on old tyres, he pitted on lap 52, just 1 lap after Barry Neal, so he will be due for some new rubber shortly, probably in the next 5 laps or so, I would say, based on our first round of pit stops. So as we rapidly approach halfway through this one already on lap 90 of 200, and just to reset the room, it is Neil Pearson leading this one. He's got a good 2-second gap over Michael Skurlock. Skurlock not able to close that down any longer. That 3-lap advantage he enjoyed on those tyres has dissipated a little bit, of course. However, at around about lap 100, we may start to see, again, the DPR car just drop away a little bit. It struggled towards the end of its tyre stint, whereas the Crank Esports boys just started to put the pace on at the end of their tyre stint. So that gap I expect to close when we look back on this battle in around about 10 laps. The only thing to say about that as well, however, is that the Mitch Motorsport boys are on the move. Michael Skurlock's in second, but we do have Micklemore, Martin and Danny G, along with Hamish Gallagher, in a train, and they are on their way to the station.
One thing to also consider in this race is, if you look at the shadows, they are getting much longer and longer. That sun is setting. We will soon have the floodlights turning on, and I would say from the pace of Pearson that he's got his car set up more for the evening than he has for the daytime, just because that car was dropping away a little bit towards the end of the stint. So we could see Pearson's car just working a little bit better as this race goes on. So keep an eye out for that as well, because that sun will soon be dropping behind the horizon and darkness will be coming across this circuit.
Yeah, changing track temperatures there, not something that I'd consider, to be brutally honest, but you're spot on. So we're going to have a completely different second half to this race to that we've seen so far. Track temperature at the moment around about 31 degrees, but that will continue to change as we get through the race. I'll just check there actually as well, the in sim time, so you can see there 1950 or 750. That's must be daylight savings in the US. It's quite bright for that late at night, but it is what it is. So the sunset will come very shortly, so that will change this one here. As I said, 31 degrees on track at the moment.
And that they are in summer over there, of course. Throws us out a little bit.
Yes, true. This is true. It is. It is summer over there at the moment. So, but even still, it's a long one. But as you say, the track temperature change here is going to impact on this one, and we'll see how that plays out. So expecting second set of pit stops to come in the sort of next 10 to 15 laps. It has been green the entire way so far, 95 laps in. We've had a couple of little hiccups, but nothing substantial. We haven't had a big one or anything like that. I'm trying to put the commentator's curse on it at all, but just bring you all up to speed on where this one is at. ANZCAR Cup Series here. AJ Insurance Services, somebody we haven't mentioned yet in the broadcast. Thank you for jumping on and helping us with our stream and enabling us to do what we do. AJ Insurance Services, based in New South Wales, and Joe Daly and the team there, certainly the ones you want to go and see if you're after insurance advice for your business or personal. They can help you out with risk assessments and providing you with the right advice and right direction to ensure that your assets are protected. So give them a call, AJ Insurance Services, Joe Daly and the team, or jump onto their Facebook page and have a chat with Joe. He is very responsive on Facebook as well, so we thank them for their support.
Yeah, very much so. That helps us keep going. And of course, we big thank you and shout out to all of you that are watching as well, because without you, we could not keep going, because you are the ones that let us keep on broadcasting. So a big thank you to you all, and a big thanks to everybody out there. It always is a pleasure to broadcast for you, and thank you again to AJ Insurance Services, because they really do help us out a lot. So sunset will be around about 8:30, I think, so we should get about another half an hour of sunlight. So it will be this towards around about lap 1:30, I reckon. We'll start seeing the darkness creeping in. So it will be coming in quite shortly, so we are going to get into there. So the race will be finished, so it'll be that sort of final stint that's going to be the one that's going to be nice and cool for these drivers, and just help those tyres off a little bit. And we'll see who's set their car up for what as well, because of course the cars do change an awful lot when the sun sets. That's one of the other things that really is a big change in oval racing. You feel it a lot, of course, on road courses, but you do feel it very much on an oval course. The day and night is, well, it's literally day and night, the difference there. Edward Foster coming into the pit lane as well this time round as Riley Curtis. So Foster coming in on lap 99, so he has had enough of those tyres and struggling a little bit out there for pace, so he's going to come in a little bit earlier and get some fresh rubber on that car and get a little bit of that undercut. So he's just going to hope it remains green from here. Of course, he does not want to see that safety car come out.
As we do hit the halfway point, lap 100 completed. Just looking here at trying to show some of the gaps that have developed. We've got a few very distinct packs with our race leader and Michael Skurlock, so Neil Pearson and Michael Skurlock sort of out in no man's land by themselves at the moment. And it's a Mitch pairing in third and fourth, and then another few seconds back to fifth and sixth. And we've got this pack of four here, which is Trahair, Andrew Dyson and Dave Douglas. So albeit they're competing for position, they're closing the gap on Phil Worley in front of them and JCW. So they were getting the benefit there of the trio running close together. So keep an eye on that and how close they get as Ed Foster jumps back out of pit lane. In fact, Barry Neal now down into pit lane. That's only his second stop. So he's going to get some fresh boots on the 22.
That's pretty much bang on for Barry Neal. He stopped at about lap 50 last time round as well. So this is sort of the stop that we were expecting from him. Neil Pearson starting to drop off at front, as we said. Earlier on in this race, we saw that car starting to struggle a little bit later in the stint, and we said watch out for around about 35-40 laps on the tyres. It's been 40 laps on the tyres, and he is starting to lose quite a bit of time to Michael Skurlock. That gap is visually closing right now. Skurlock is gaining on the back of Pearson to the sound of about a tenth of a second a lap at the moment. So won't be long until we see Pearson and Skurley right next to each other, as Pearson starts to get into a little bit of traffic as well. Josh Mickelmoy is ahead of Jason Martin still. Those guys are running in order at the moment, with Danny G and Hamish Gallagher down in sixth. So the Mitch Motorsport cars have got a strong position at the moment. They're looking good out there. They are working very well, so keep an eye out for them later on in this race.
Jason Hardigan now dropping down to jump in the 51 Atari Autosport entry as well. He was just in this little battle pack here. There's Lachlan Urquhart, you can see just up in front of Neil Pearson there. And right behind Neil Pearson is Raymond Yeager in the Activity Habali entry, 23 entry. So just that traffic not helping, probably helping a little bit actually with a bit of draft. But you know what Pearson wants at the moment. Skurlock now that gap's reduced to just on 1 1/4 seconds. So Barry Neal sets the fastest lap of the race out of pit lane, 30.03, closest we've been to the 29s, and he is the fastest man on track on that new set of tyres. As Joshua Carroll Walden jumps into pit lane as well. So just starting to see a few of those that pitted on that sort of early to mid 50s lap jumping into pit lane now to get their second service done.
Yeah, Scully just playing a little bit of mind games. I was just watching there. He's just dropping down the track on the back straight to make it look like he's possibly coming into pit lane, try and throw off Pearson a little bit. This is the time where you're going to get some fast laps. Of course, that track is cooling, the air temperature is dropping. It's that nice time of the evening, that sort of magic hour. At Le Mans, of course, we see it in the morning time, just as the sun starts to rise, and there's a little bit more temperature in the track, but you see it in the evening as well. So the good old magic hour where the cars look their best as well, just as that sun starts setting. They all look very good in this kind of lighting condition. So yes, one of my favourite times of watching motorsport, when the sun sets and rises.
Sure, there's a bad time to watch motorsport, is there, Carl?
Oh, it depends. I mean, if you're watching the Monaco Grand Prix, generally that's often a bad time.
At Canberra, yeah, one of the best tracks in the world that produces some of the most, rudimentary types of racing. Not too much passing going on, of course, but certainly a racetrack I'd love to run around very quickly. Very technically challenging with the walls and what have you, but you're not necessarily conducive to interesting racing.
No, especially with those nice big wide Formula 1 cars that we have these days. It's a lot better in some of the older cars and things like that. I would recommend checking out the Monaco Classic if you can, because there was some amazing racing in that one, but much narrower cars, of course. We just had a bit of a moment on track between Barry Neal and JCW, very close there between those two. So they almost had a moment, and Scully and Matty Raymond almost making contact as well. They get very close to each other. Scully just having to check off a little bit, and Raymond Yeager even. I always get them the wrong way around. Too many Rays and Yeagers. They just got very close to each other. So very close, but they managed to save that one. So Scully is still closing on Pearson, but that little bit of traffic has given Pearson a little bit more breathing room.
Yeah, it's all sort of stabilised at around that 1.5 second gap between them. But not to worry at the moment. It's more about staying clean as we hit Nelson. 111 completed onto lap 112.
I just get the feeling we might be seeing a caution here relatively soon. A couple of these cars are starting to get very loose as the track temperature started to change. The surface is starting to change a little bit. The way these cars are going to drive is changing a little bit, and there's going to be a lot more marbles out there as well. So I reckon this could be the time where we might see a caution flag fly, if we're going to see one tonight.
Yeah, particularly after obviously 112 laps of consistency. You've got, you know what the car's doing, you know how it's going to turn and handle and perform. We've been through old and new tyres, and track temperature is the only thing really that can catch them out at the moment. So I think you might be onto that there, Carl, and those who pitted early, only 4 sets of... Oh, sorry, you said it expanded out to 6 sets of tyres, was it, tonight?
Yeah, 6 sets tonight, because we've got 200 laps here at Charlotte, so that's a lot of kilometres.
We do have an extra set to spare if they need to. Obviously going to run definitely 4 sets. Do have 2 extra sets that they can use, so those that did pit early, if there was a caution here, would probably be wanting to slap those on. Still definitely going to have to make one more stop from here anyhow, with that window around about 60 or so laps, so on a full tank, but no one run that fast with a couple of guys running that far or further so far. So 67 is the longest stint we've seen.
And we may have a bit of trouble for Hamish Gallagher right now. Looks like he might have dropped from the server, so he might be in some sort of connectivity issue, unfortunately for Gallagher. Keep an eye on that one, see what happens. But he has dropped off the radar at the moment, and looks like that might be night over for him, unfortunately. Last night's winner in the Xfinity Series, of course.
Yes, as Ruben Phelps and Justin Witchett jump in to pit lane. trying to establish there. I think lap 137 is around about the furthest out that we could see anyone make their last stop, but that is a long distance to go on tyres as well. So yeah,
we saw them doing about 6. We saw people managing. Well, we saw Hamish Gallagher managing 68 laps on that first stint. So there's still quite a bit of time out there for a few of these drivers, if they can make it, of course. As the temperatures start to drop, the tyres will be a little bit less dire out there, but it is a little bit more about fuel in those respects. And I think, unfortunately, that might be Hamish Gallagher. I think he has dropped out. I'll keep an eye on that one. I'll let you know what's happening. But he has dropped completely off the timing boards at the moment.
The person who hasn't, Michael Skurlock, you just would have seen there while Carl was just getting us an update on Hamish, that just in the background of the picture, Michael Skurlock now down to within half a second of Neil Pearson. So Pearson very much in that window where that DPR car just doesn't form. There he is there. So Skurlock is on the hunt. He's well and truly into the draft zone here. And don't be too surprised to see Pearson in that DPR car potentially jump a little earlier than he did last time. He pitted first on lap 63. So equal stint will get him to 126. But he was dropping rapidly in those last sort of half a dozen laps. So I think maybe if Skurlock jumps into the lead here, Pearson might jump into pit lane.
Yeah, the goal is now, of course, is to try and make it so you can hopefully get home sort of with the single stint. Try and do one less stint than some of the guys that are free stopping. It's going to be a bit close and a bit sketchy for a few of them, but they will try their best, of course, because the longer you're out on track and the less time you're in pit lane, it does save you an awful lot of time. Skurlock's actually just started losing a little bit of time over Pearson just in traffic at the moment. There are a few cars that have pitted for tyres and have just got past Skurlock, Witcher, and I think that might be Riley Curtis. Riley Curtis there. They've just got past Michael Skurlock, and they're going to be catching Neil Pearson soon as well, and just getting past him. But this has allowed Jason Martin to get right up onto the rear spoiler of that cranky sports car. So he is right up underneath Scully's rear spoiler at the moment, and Jason Martin in the Mitch Motorsport car is on the prowl as well. Watch out for him. We've seen he's got a fast car underneath him. As long as he can get that one working for him and just doesn't clip the apron again, then we know that he's got some good pace there as well. So see how that one goes, as Ruben Phelps is just getting past Jason Martin and Skurlock at the moment on those fresher tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. So 133, that sort of borderline lap that these guys will be looking to get to. And those cars that are set up to look after their tyres a little later in the stint, the cooler weather will help them here just a little bit. But that's the critical lap for these guys, so looking at stretching out that next 11 laps to make it home on one more stop.
It's going to be tight for a couple of these guys, and that's the thing. It's going to be tight, so they're just going to be holding it out here as long as possible. For those fans, unfortunately, I think Hamish Gallagher has unfortunately called it a evening, so I think he might be fully out of this race. I think he managed to get it back into pit lane, and I think he's disconnected. So real shame for Hamish Gallagher. He had some good pace out there and was looking to get a second win here at Charlotte after a great dominant race here in the Xfinity cars, but unfortunately some real life technical issues and some technical issues have cost him this race.
Or at least a chance at it.
Yeah, that's it. The chance of the race, of course. That's it. But he was looking good, actually. I got to say, he was looking good with his strategy as well, because he'd managed to get a really nice long stint out there. So he was looking the safest of anyone to make it to that magical lap to get home with one more stop, as Pearson has got Skurlock right underneath his rear spoiler at the moment. Skurlock has got Martin underneath his spoiler. 125 laps here at Charlotte, and the top three are separated by around about half a second, just under less than half a second at the moment. You can visually see all three of those cars on the racetrack at the moment fighting it out. Josh Micklemore is hunting down this pack as well, so he's going to want to get up there into this battle too to help his teammate as well. So it's looking good, you've got to say, for Mitch Motorsport at the moment, but Pearson definitely still has some speed out there, and don't discount Skurlock because we know that he is hungry for this one.
Well, the one thing we do have at the moment, which has been a little different to the start of the race, is that it is no teammates at the front at the moment. So these three running for their respective teams with DPR, Mitch and Crank Esports. Jason Martin gets a move done down the inside there of Michael Skurlock. So that Mitch car quick again towards the end of the stint, as we did see at the end of the first stint. So he looks like Skurlock there obviously just not giving up, and the DPR car coming through there underneath on fresher tyres. So that is a lapped car there, the 98 of Stephen Williams. So he's just getting the job done very, very rapidly, and just a little bit of traffic there between himself and the 5 of Scott Griffiths. So just tangling with the leaders here, or just dancing away. And I think that may have affected Jason Martin a little bit, because Michael Skurlock's got back in front of him. So
yeah, weaving your way through cars like that at over 270 kilometers per hour is not a easy thing to do, and it just shows the level of concentration and skill these guys have got out there. That was an impressive little move. 128 laps, 129 laps I should say, of green flag racing here tonight at Charlotte as well. What a great job all these drivers are doing tonight. Gotta really give them props at the moment. Jason Martin now trying the high line on Skurley, just can't quite make it work, and I think we're going to see Neil Pearson coming in this lap, and this is a little bit short of making it to the end. So Pearson is at real risk here, if he's pitting now, of not making it to the end on one more stop.
And that's potentially the penalty for leading for so much of this race. It's just meant that he's right now, by our calculations, 3 laps short of a fuel to the end stop. So these guys, Skurlock, Martin and Micklemore, Danny G, will be looking to run to 1:33. That's the critical lap that will get them home if it stays green for what would be an extraordinary race of 200 laps of green flag racing. So Martin just high in the line there, just probably trying to get the push off the corner to maybe get another run at Skurlock. He's got Edward Foster hot on his heels. Ed trying to get a lap back here, as he pitted on lap 99, so he will need to stop again, but certainly trying to get his car unlapped there as well. And that is Josh Micklemore as well behind him, so he's starting to make or close the gap, I should say, to Jason Martin in front, having got through and navigated that traffic. As Michael Skurlock's going to come in, he's going to be short. He may well be short as well. Of course, not leading as many laps as Pearson. He may be 1 lap shy on fuel. That will be very interesting to watch.
He is going to be very tight. He's going to need to get some help in some drafting to make it to that magical number. It's going to be very close for Skurley. Don't discount him. I mean, it's Skurlock. We can never discount Skurlock. I don't think Pearson's going to make it. Unfortunately, which is a bit heartbreaking for Pearson, because he's done a great job of leading out there and has got obviously a very quick car, but paying the penalty for a quick car is the fact that it's just using a little bit more fuel, and he's just not able to get it towards the latter stages of that stint. So we are on lap 133. We've got 67 laps remaining from here. So anybody pitting now should be able to just make it home. So Philip Worley just coming into pit lane. So we'll probably see the Mitch Motorsport cars just stick it out there for about 2 or 3 more laps, just in case there's a late caution. They'll just stick it out there just a little bit longer. Luke Trahir as well. He's managing to keep that car out there as well, doing a good job of keeping it out and keeping the fuel numbers up. Andrew Dyson as well. Of course, Neil Pearson's teammate, he's looking good at the moment, just doing some good fuel saving. He's on his lap as well, so he's looking good at just about making it home from here. So all of these guys have just about made it to that magic lap, and they're just going to stick it out for a maybe a one more lap or so, just in case there is a caution, just so not to throw away a pit stop. But I imagine we'll be seeing a lot of these guys coming into pit lane very shortly.
Yeah, what interests me about this, and the reason we jumped to have a look at Luke Traher and what he was doing, is Traher now coming into pit lane on lap 135, stopped on exactly the same lap as Michael Skurlock, his teammate. Skurlock hasn't been in the lead, albeit he did spend a fair amount of time running by himself during that second stint. That may have cost him a little bit of fuel economy against Traher, who's been running in a pack. Yeah, I think Skurlock might be one lap shy on fuel. As you say, anyone who pits from here is good to the end. As we see Andrew Dyson duck down, and I think we are going to see Dave Douglas. No, Douglas continues around for another lap. He stopped on lap 66, so he's now our longest runner on this current fuel tank.
I was actually just about to mention this. Dave Douglas has done 70 laps on this tank. He's very much clutching it through the corner at the moment. I think he's going to definitely put in this lap. Of course, saying that, of course, means that he'll stay out. But I think he's going to be coming in pretty much on this lap, because he is just cruising that car around there, just switching the engine off almost. He is very much just cruising it in. He does come in this lap. So that means that if Skurlock can get it working just right, he might be able to creep home on this one. Neil Pearson is going to be really, really close. Neil Pearson still to think he's going to be about one lap shy. But he has got Skurlock all over the back of him at the moment. So Neil Pearson and Skurlock are battling it out on track as we talk. Neil Pearson just getting past Skurlock at the moment. So Pearson is charging. Skurlock is just cruising at the moment a little bit. Skurlock is going to be sitting there behind Pearson, but Pearson is looking very much like he's not going to make it to the end. So Skurly might just go into a bit of fuel saving mode here. He's going to let Pearson run in front of him, be a little bit of a wind blocker for him, and just allow him to get a little bit more fuel mileage. And he's also got his teammate Michael Skurlock. He's got I think he's got Aiden Schultz just behind him, so that could be useful as well for Skurly, just to get a little bit of a push through the track. If he can get Schultz working with him right here, this could work out very well for Skurly and just get him to the very end of this race.
Yeah, I was going to say it would certainly be to his benefit to let Pearson lead, no question whatsoever, because Pearson is going to have to stop. So it'll help Skurlock there, can just sort of save a little bit of fuel, particularly when he's got the cover of his teammate behind him. He'll be able to just maybe save a little bit early on in the stint and make sure he gets there. Because if he does fall short, it's only going to be by a lap or so. So he's going to need to do it.
Yeah, it's going to get very, very close here, so it's going to be interesting. This is going to be a very spicy finish up the front, and it's going to get right down to the very end here. Meanwhile, Foster is in the lead of the race. He's going to have to stop probably in around about 10 laps, I'd say. So Foster will be coming in relatively shortly. So he'll just be hoping for a caution at the moment to help his race out. He's got his teammate JCW, Joshua Carroll-Walden, behind him. The Atari Autosport cars are in 1-2 at the moment, but they are out of sync on the pit strategy at the moment. Neil Pearson in third for DPR with the Simrig sponsorship. Michael Skurlock with Crank Esports in fourth. Barry Neal, Atari Autosport, up there in fifth position. Barry Neal up 23 positions at the moment. He was one of the first stoppers, so he was one of the early stoppers, so he'll be in and around about 10 laps now at time as well. So he's sort of out of sync with a few people as well. Jason Martin in sixth position for Mitch Motorsport, and then it's a Mitch Motorsport 1, 2, 3 from sixth to eighth. We've got Micklemore and Danny G there as well, so they've got a good train of cars to work together at the moment. Another good job from Ruben Phelps as well. He has worked his way quietly up the order. He's a bit out of sync at the moment. Philip Worley's going to be gobbling up that time. But Ruben Phelps out there in the Hot Wheels car doing another fantastic jobs in the RP Motorsport car. solo effort tonight as well. So again, that is a good job for him. The highest of the solo cars, I think, as Neil Pearson and Skurlock just get past Foster.
Yeah, so it's Neil Pearson 62 there, actually, of I believe Aiden Schultz. No, it should be Mirko. Yeah, it is Mirko Doutnak there, just a lap car, but yeah, Skurlock's coming very quickly at Foster as well, so they will resume it as Foster decides now is the time. He will make it to the end from here, so he's jumped in on lap 144, a little shy of where his strategy was at beforehand, but obviously recognising how much time he's going to lose.
Say he's going to make it to the end, but so far tonight on my numbers, Foster hasn't done more than a 50-lap stint, so I don't know if he's struggling a little bit out there with the setup just for... he should be able to make it on fuel, but he might just be struggling setup-wise and just really not able to get that thing working for those long stints. He sort of has there's some good single-lap pace in the car. We saw that with his qualifying time. He managed to get up to P8, and we saw his teammate JCW up in P5. So we know the Sari Orisbrook car has got some good qualifying pace, but it's just that long run pace it's struggling with at the moment.
One that we didn't touch on is Steve Williams. He is up 20 positions. He is our fastest, or next to Barry Neal, I should say, our highest mover. He's now just cracked the top 10 with Foster jumping into pit lane. He did start dead last in 30th, so a really solid drive from him as always. It's a trait that did help him take out season 1 of the Truck Championship. So just that nice, consistent, smooth drive and progressing your way up the field throughout the evening. And albeit he does need to make another pit stop, he's should have a good finish here tonight, Stephen Williams.
Yeah, he's done a good job. He's worked his way up there. He's managed to get up with his teammates as well, Philip Worley, and just ahead of Andrew Dyson, who is there on some different strategies. Of course, Dyson on some fresher tyres. Stephen Williams up there from pit strategy at the moment. But he's done a great job of slotting his car up there. Justin Witcher as well doing a nice job out there for the Activity Hub Barley team. He has worked his way up there as well into P11. So good drive from him tonight. We've seen some solid drives through the lower pack, just working their way up the order, and of course there is a long way to go. There's still a lot of pit stops to go for this one, so it's going to be there's still not over yet. We still have a long way in this race to go. We've got 52 laps remaining, so 148 of 200, as we say. So it is the big race here tonight at Charlotte. The sun should be just about disappearing shortly, so we should be seeing the last of that sunlight very shortly, as the floodlights have indeed gone on. So luckily they got the floodlights around here, because the headlights don't do much in these cars.
No, I've never found stickers to be the most efficient conductor of light out there at all, and they've got that problem front and rear on these things, but certainly the floodlights doing a good job and in full effect as we are about to hit through 3/4 of this race, and it is Neil Pearson leading on
3/4 of this race, Stuart, but it's been green.
Yeah, unbelievable. We did see just a small patch of cautions here in the Xfinity race last night. The usual story of cautions breeding cautions, but nothing major. And in fact, one of the cautions was caused by a hardware failure, with the driver just pulling down on the infield to get out of the way, and it did cause a caution period for unfortunately a non-event, but that did occur. So only 2 small incidents last night that actually caused racing incidents that caused the caution, and no such events tonight, which is good to see. So it comes down to the setup and the driver, as Jason Martin now closing up on the back of Joshua Carroll-Walden. Much fresher tyres, working with his teammate Josh Mickelmore, and they are definitely again on the move in those Mitch cars, so they will be contesting for the lead of this race as we get towards the end of it. Jason Martin should be fueled up to the end of the race, along with Josh Mickelmore, if our calculations are correct.
Yeah, it's going to be extremely tight at the top. There's 2 laps separating Pearson and Skurlock for pit stops. Skurlock stopping 2 laps after Pearson, so Skurlock theoretically can make it on fuel, but it is going to be very tight for him. He's going to need some serious fuel saving in that car to get it working, but we saw Dave Douglas make it work, so we know that can be done. But Martin, Micklemore, Danny G all have that car fuel to the very end of this race. They're looking very good at the moment to make that two-stop strategy work. In F8 runs, we get a caution.
Oh, let's get a caution.
Oh, a big wreck, I think, from Riley Curtis.
Indeed, it is Riley Curtis. Jump straight into pit lane. Let's go back and have a look. This is going to help a number of the drivers who still need to pit, and it wouldn't surprise me if Pearson jumps into the lane just to top up the fuel. Whack a new set of boots onto the number 9. Let's go back and have a look at the incident.
So we'll jump back here with Riley Curtis just going through turn number 2. He actually lost the car a little bit, and you see the end of the crash here, that car rolling over a few times. A big accident for himself, single car incident. But you see there, just snapping out from underneath him. He just got a big snap of oversteer there in that exit of the corner. Might have just caught the apron a little bit. I don't think he did. I just think that car just got loose on its own. I just think the back end just started stepping out on him, and then all of a sudden could not save that car. Ruben Phelps, the luckiest cat out there. So Ruben Phelps is he is
that's at full speed from the nose of the car. That is unbelievable. He got through that without any damage whatsoever.
That was very lucky for Mr. Ruben Phelps.
That is a close your eyes and hope moment, and it is absolutely the case. So we've got all of the leaders coming in here. So we're going to be fueled to the end from here. We just said before that cautions do breed cautions, though, so don't be too surprised if there's another. But Pearson, Skurlock, Martin, Micklemore, Danny G, JCW in as well. We've got Phil Worley staying out, who'll probably just be wanting to pick up a lead lap. And Phelps, Witcher, Dyson, Williams. So the full train is in here. They'll do tyres, they'll do fuel, and they'll be ready to go for the balance of the race.
Yeah, they'll be able to get this one working out for them. I think, unfortunately, we might have lost Edward Foster due to some issues there on his side of things. But this has worked out perfectly for Pearson because he needed that caution to get to the end of the race. So that's basically saved his race right here, but he's going to have a hard charging Skurlock and then 3 Mitch Motorsport cars behind him. The guy it really has saved is Joshua Carroll Walden, as well as Ruben Phelps as well, I should mention. Ruben Phelps somehow making it through that one. I think Ruben should look at buying a lottery ticket tonight, because that was indeed a very lucky moment. But JCW, he's up in 7th at the moment. He would have had to have pitted off very shortly, so this has actually worked out extremely well for JCW. Stephen Williams as well, another big winner in that situation. He was getting ready to come into pit lane relatively shortly, and this has really saved his night, so worked out very, very well for him.
Yeah, the entire field's going to be ready to go out of this. Just seeing a couple that haven't jumped in. Aiden Schultz, Raymond Jaeger, they jumped in on 130s. Dave Douglas as well. They may come in this time around. Luke Trahare's just jumped into pit lane, along with Lockie Urquio, Jason Harding and Norm Clark. They've all jumped in. Philip Worley now in as well. So everyone's going to be raring to go here. And at the front, it is going to be hectic.
Yeah, this is going to be one heck of a restart here tonight. Get ready. It's going to be it's going to be fun. We've got 44 laps remaining, so we are going to get right to the tail end of this race. You can see there are quite a few lapped cars in front of Neil Pearson at the moment, so they should get the waiver out. So that's going to help a few of them out as well. So again, useful things sometimes. So this caution has changed the race completely. If it had remained green, Neil Pearson would have been kissing that win goodbye for sure. Would Skurlock have made it? We don't know. We'll never know now. But We do know that we are in for one heck of a sprint to the end of this race. We know that Pearson is fast in the early stages of the stint. We know that car starts to struggle after around about 40 laps. We've got 40, we'll have about 43 remaining, so he's going to start struggling towards the end of the stint, but will he be able to build enough gap to make it work for him? We've not seen Skurlock's true pace tonight, so that's something else to watch out for. How much pace has Skurlock got behind him? And we have 3 Mitch bullets in the revolver at the moment of Jason Martin, Josh Micklemore and Danny G up there in the top 5. Those teammates could be crucial for the win right here.
As they form up, the lights are out on the pace car, and we're getting ready to go green. There are a number of DPR cars just in the picture there as well, so don't count that out of the equation, albeit heavily Mitch Motorsport dominated at the front as well. Ruben Phelps up there is the independent, so he's just inside the top 10, and just waiting for this pace car to peel off, along with the Activity Hub Barley car there as well. Justin Witcher, he's in 10th position, and be happy with the outcome from this one. Lucha Hare, only available teammate, closest available teammate I should say to Skurlock, so he's on his pat. He's going to have to get this done by himself at this point in time. 12 spots down Lucha Hare. Dave Douglas, first of our cars that didn't pit, and we're about to get ready to go here. So we're going to have 42 laps remaining. And Neil Pearson drops the hammer and gets away in the 9 DPR Simrigs.com entry. Michael Skurlock gets a good jump, goes with him. Jason Martin likewise. Martin down on that inside line. Skurlock's going to lose a position here. He's going to struggle as well, potentially to slot back down into that lower line with Josh Micklemore down on the inside there, followed by Danny G. He could lose a number of positions here, but does very well. Gets down in there behind Jason Martin, who does move up into second place. But they've got some pace on now and close right up on the back of Neil Pearson as this one does get restarted. Josh Micklemore behind him, Danny G in 5th position. Ruben Phelps got up into 6th position as well. He had a good restart. Now 13 places up. Joshua Carroll Walden in 7th. Andrew Dyson 8th. We've got Steve William 9th and Justin Witcher in 10th position at the restart here. And Michael Skurlock all over the back of the Mitch Motorsport car there. Gets down on the inside. A couple of DPR boys in the background as well doing the same thing. Skurlock here is going to put the move on Martin, who's getting held up a little bit there by Neil Pearson. As Pearson drops down to the low line there, Martin trying to get the job done around the outside. Pearson closes the door on him. It's very close between those two there. Skurlock down on the apron, just trying to make enough room for himself there as this battle continues on this restart. It is hot and fast at the front here at the moment. And it is.
Skurlock just clips the apron. That's going to spin his tyres up a little bit. He's going to lose time. Micklemore is going to make the position on Skurlock right here.
Jason Martin still trying to get the job done here on Neil Pearson.
That was a blessing for Pearson right there, because he was having to defend against 2 cars, but it may come back to haunt him now because Jason Martin's going to have his teammate behind him. This could be a great help for right now. Oh, Justin Witcher losing the back end.
No, he got help there, Justin Witcher. Steve Williams just gave him a little nudge in the left rear quarter there and just gave him a helping hand. They were really, really close while we were on board with them. They managed to hold it there, no caution period. A good save from Justin Witcher there.
I got a bit of help from one of the other DPR cars as well. Just giving him a little tweak in the right direction. That saved him. But Jason Martin has made the move up the front to take the lead of this race. Just behind him, you can see Skurlock battling it out with Josh Micklemore at the moment. But Jason Martin has managed to slot in front of Neil Pearson. Will he be able to hold this position? We saw last time Jason Martin making a rare mistake, just clipping that apron. I don't think we're going to see that again from Jason Martin. He's not prone to making mistakes, so Neil Pearson might be in for a struggle now to get this victory, but he is at least in with a shot.
37 laps to go. The early pace from the Mitch cars wasn't probably as good as that from the DPR, so don't be too surprised here to see Pearson close back up and take back over the lead of the race. So he's all over the back here of Martin, as you'd expect, getting the benefit of the draft. Gets down on the inside. Looks like he's going to retake the position. Just off touching that apron there and probably getting a little bit loose. Skurlock's back in this as well. He's managed to break away from Josh Micklemore, who's got Danny G behind him, and Ruben Phelps now in this battle for this top 5 positions as well. He's right on the back of Danny G as Neil Pearson gets the move done down the inside. It's not over here though at all by any stretch of the imagination as the drag race goes. Looks like Martin's just got the benefit there on that middle lane. Great driving here from these three. Look, Skurlock there just all over the back of them like a fly on a hot Sunday.
Pearson making a slight mistake, which gave Jason Martin the opportunity to battle back for that position. Pearson just caught the apron a tiny bit, had a bit of a snap of oversteer, managed to correct the car, didn't lose too much speed, but it did cost him that position to Jason Martin, and it may cost him to Skurlock, because Skurlock is all over the back of him, as you said, and he's going to be applying pressure. We know Skurlock wants this victory tonight.
Out the back of Neil Pearson. Now we're on board with Michael Skurlock as he tries to navigate his way around. Of course, the other thing these guys got to be careful of is not burning up the tyres. There is still 33 laps to go, 32 after this one, and they've got to be aware just not to go too hard too early. We know, as we said, Pearson in that DPR car struggling towards the end of the stint a little, around about that 40 lap mark, which will be right at the end of this race, and that's when the cars of the Mitch Motorsport boys and the Crank Esports boys really fire up. So there's plenty to go here for us to consider before we ever get close to understanding who's going to take this one out.
Still a long way to go as Josh Micklemore just makes a little bit of a mistake, and this is going to give his teammate Danny G the opportunity in the 24 to get underneath the 31 right here. Danny G is going to make the move on his teammate and just try and slot up into 4th position. It's a team sport sometimes, but in NASCAR racing, team orders are not a thing, and racing is encouraged over everything, and especially in Mitch Motorsport, those guys love to race each other, and if they can beat one another, they are going to be more than happy to do it.
Ruben Phelps trying to go with them as well there. You can see him in the background picture in the Hot Wheels liveried entry. And he is just sticking with them here. He's got Andrew Dyson on his heels as well as the Mitch Motorsport boys sorted out there. Josh Micklemore just moving back up in front of Danny G as they move right up onto the back of Michael Skurlock as well. So, as you say, no team orders, but certainly consideration for making sure they move back up onto the back of this pack here and potentially try and help out Jason Martin open up a gap as Micklemore's all over the back of Skurlock. Benefit of the draft, getting, as you said before, getting up to him is one thing, getting past him is a complete different story.
That's it. Catching one thing, passing is another. The Richard Petty inspired livery of Ruben Phelps. I think it's fast becoming one of the favourites out there for sure. Josh Micklemore has managed to get up ahead of his teammate again, and he's putting pressure on the back of Skurly right now. So this battle is not over by a long shot. So this is just helping Jason Martin out. The longer this race goes, the better it is for him. You've got to say, Neil Pearson is trying to put the pressure on him still. He knows he needs to get in front of Jason Martin before too long, because otherwise he's not going to be able to, well, he's going to struggle, I would say, to get back past Martin in the latter stages of this race. Skurly is side by side with Micklemore. We've got Crank versus Mitch at the moment. They are a cigarette paper between those two cars. They are that close to each other. You would not be able to fit a cigarette paper between those two, but it looks like Micklemore might have this move made. He's been just a little bit quicker on that low line, but Skurlock will have better drive off the high line. It is side by side at the moment, and while they're doing this is just allowing Pearson to get a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah, you saw Micklemore there try the outside or over-under, and it's got him down onto that bottom line. Just hasn't quite been able to get the drive to close out the position. You see there Skurlock just ahead and push off the corner. So looks like Josh may have to settle for this one. Skurlock be trying to just push that crank car down into that lower line to cut them off, and he's done it. And once again, the Mitch boys are going to have to regroup and try another way. Just not quite able to get it done. It has opened the gap up to Pearson. He's got now 3/10 over Michael Skurlock, and Jason Martin 3/10 in front of that, albeit Pearson closing up So there's two packs are starting to form. Skirley won't be liking that. He'll be wanting to be up in those front there. He'll try and use the Mitch Motorsport boys to push him up as well. And the gap is starting to close.
173 laps, and we've got less than a second between the top 5 at the moment. Yes, we did have a caution out there, but it is still very close. We've still got 16 cars on the lead lap as well, importantly. So it is very much a fight out there as Skurlock just gets a little bit of a wiggle on entering the corner. That's going to give Micklemore the opportunity on the exit once more. They are going to be side by side again. Skurlock is not going to get the respite he wants because this has been a long race for these guys. It is an endurance race out there. It does take a lot out of you when you are running this long on the oval, but it is side by side there for third place at the moment. Skurlock does look to have a little bit of an advantage. That high line is working for him at the moment, but Micklemore is not making it easy as up front Neil Pearson is trying to make the high move on Jason Martin at the moment, trying to force Martin low. It's side by side at the front as third place is settled for another moment, but first place is in doubt again as Neil Pearson makes a lunge there. He's going to get a good drive off this corner. It's going to be a drag race down the straight here. Well, the dog leg here. Neil Pearson's going to come across the line just in front of Martin that time. Nothing separating them. There was absolutely nothing separating those two cars that time round, but Pearson is going to get a little bit better drive on that high line. We've seen it all night long. He's just got to make it stick there and not burn up those tyres too quickly, because otherwise Martin will be able to get him back. But it looks like Pearson might be able to make this move work for him. He just needs to get up in front of Jason Martin now, just slot in front of that nose, and he should be good.
He's got that move done there, up into first place. Jason Martin right behind him. Skurlock's dropped 6/10 back, now in third. With that battle stabilising now, it's still close enough. 2/10 between himself, Micklemore, and Danny G. Ruben Phelps has fallen away a little bit as well. He's now got a second, but that's partly because he's been battling with Andrew Dyson, who's been trying to get the move done to move up into 6th position. And then we go back to Phil Worley, Joshua Carroll-Walden, and Steve Williams still up inside the top 10, 20 positions up. A good drive from him, and a little bit in no man's land at the moment.
A good battle going on for 15th and 16th at the moment as Aiden Schultz and Raymond Yeager get very close to each other. They almost make contact. They just rub a little bit of paint there. Rubbing is racing, as they say, but Aiden Schultz has come out on top of that battle as the battle up for between Ruben Phelps and Andrew Dyson is going on now. Dyson on the inside, Phelps on the outside there. The Petty-inspired livery of Ruben Phelps is he's gonna hope it's gonna help him out here as those two are side by side battling away. They get so close to each other. There's going to be a little bit of that side draft for Andrew Dyson here. That might help him out a little bit on the exit. Phelps has got the high line though. We've seen it's worked better all night long so far. Will it work again? Dyson, very close. There's a little bit of loss of momentum for Dyson. His back end just stepped out. Don't think there was contact between the two, but I think he just lost that back end a little bit. It was very close between them. So they are really battling it hard at the moment for 6th and 7th. This is a great battle.
Absolutely. As I was just looking there, keeping an eye on Skurlock and Micklemore. It looked like they did get alongside one another while we were watching that battle between Phelps and Dyson. And that just affected Micklemore's drive, and Skurlock closed it out again. So he resumes third place. Neil Pearson once again still has Jason Martin closing down on him. There's 2/10 there. Josh
Micklemore makes a big lunge on Skirley this time round. Micklemore's going to make it work this time round. He gets a great run across the dog leg. Skurlock's going to hold it on the outside there. Try again to get that good run off. He just drops down and makes contact. There is contact between Skurlock and Micklemore there.
Wow, that I did not see happening.
No, very close there, and just that little bit of contact there. I think maybe Micklemore's car just wandered up the line a little bit, just into Skurlock, because yeah, it just seemed to wander up a little bit, but very close, too close to call at the moment between those two. But that is unfortunate between both those drivers.
Absolutely unfortunate for them, taking them out of the race effectively. You just see there again, it's just checked up a little bit. On board with Skurlock there. I just might have another look at that if we can.
And this is bad news for Scott because he's got a lot of damage on the front of that car. It looks like Micklemore just closed the door a little bit late there, unfortunately. And that is going to affect Skurly tonight because that whole front end is off of that car. Don't count him out just yet. We've seen Skurlock come back from worse, but I don't think that's going to help him at all tonight. That is really unfortunate for him. Unfortunate for both of them because that was a great battle out there as well. But we're going to see the whole field come in again and slap some new tyres on. We've got 18 laps remaining. It's going to be a sprint to the finish.
Yeah, new tyres for everyone. And this extra couple of sets is going to play its way here. And Skurlock will be looking to get a little bit of that damage fixed, but just bung a new set of tyres on that and roll the dice with only 18 laps to go, you imagine.
Question is how much damage is done to Skurly's car. He's going to have to get some of that repaired probably, so he might have some mandatory repairs, so he's going to be stationary for quite some time, unfortunately, and that's going to drop him back right to the end of the train.
Yeah, so this works out well for Neil Pearson, Jason Martin, Danny Chi up into third, Ruben Phelps up into fourth position now. Andrew Dyson will be behind him, Philip Worley, got Joshua Carroll Walden, Luke Hare up into the 10, Steve Williams now 9th, and Barry Neal up into 10th position as well. So good long runs from them. See them the benefactors of that caution. So Neil Pearson here. We'll be hoping it stays green till the end now. 17 to go. Probably 15 to go when we go green flag again. And this is going to be a fantastic run to the end. We had no more than 2 tenths between the leader and Jason Martin. We had a couple of switches in terms of the leader of the race just in that short stint there. And Carl, amazing that we can go 150 laps without any cautions at all, and we've had 2 in a short space of time.
Well, I said to you a little bit earlier on, it's going to be this sort of time later on in the session where we're going to see those cautions creeping up. Luckily, we didn't see too many, but it's at that sort of stage where getting towards the end of the race, the car starts changing its balance a little bit. Night has fallen over Charlotte, North Carolina, and it does change the way these cars feel, so it depends on how you've got the car set up, of course. I think that might have been something that caught Riley Curtis out for that first caution. The little incident between Micklemore and Skurlock, of course, it is just racing, and that's the thing, as these guys want to win, they want to beat each other, and they are going to race each other as hard as humanly possible as well. So again, it's that thing between those two. They are just absolutely racing each other, trying to prove who is the quickest out there. And these accidents do happen sometimes, especially when you're traveling at over 270 kilometers per hour, when there is nothing but a cigarette paper between the two of you.
Yeah, as Josh Micklemore jumps through pit lane there again to get some more damage repaired. And I dare say Michael Skurlock has left the building.
Well, he's coming back out again. He's come round. So he's stayed on the lead lap, most importantly for Skurly. He's still on that lead lap. So he will be just ahead of his teammate Marco Dornack. And he will be on the back of the train. It's look, anything can happen, and it usually does in motorsport, so I'll never say never, but it's going to be much harder for Skurly to win this one now. You've got to say it's looking good up front for Neil Pearson, who has been in a class of his own tonight. That car has looked so stable, and with just a 15-lap sprint to go, that short run pace on the DPR car has looked very good. Watch out for Andrew Dyson back there in 5th position and Philip Worley in 6th position. The other DPR cars up there in the top 10. Stephen Williams there as well in 9th. Barry Neal up into 10th position as well. So there are a few big gains out there, and there are a few fast cars on the short run pace as well. So be interesting to see how they go. And we saw Ruben Phelps having a strong night last night in the Xfinity car. Will he have another strong night in the Cup car? He is out there on his own, and he's doing a great job, you got to say.
Absolutely, up in 4th position. He'll be looking to get some advantage out of this restart here. So will Andrew Dyson, as you said. And count out Luke Trahere, who has won races before from 8th position with some of these sorts of finishes. So really, anyone inside this top 10 could take this out, depending on how the dice fall. But Neil Pearson, Jason Martin, certainly the front runners as Pearson gets away again with another good restart here. 15 laps to go at Charlotte ANZCAR Cup Series. Thanks to AJ Insurance Services. 200 lap race with 15 to go, and it is Neil Pearson who's leading. Danny G got a better start. He's down on the inside, and Martin's going to have to settle for slotting into third, I think, as Danny G.
We've got a big wreck behind. There is a big wreck behind. Aidan Schultz and Justin Witcher, I think, making contact there.
Absolutely, and here we go again. Another caution.
Oh.
Let's jump back and have a look at it.
As that was a big accident there.
Wow.
Josh Micklemore getting absolutely wrecked in that, unfortunately, as well as I think that was Jason Hartigan, I think we saw flying across the track in the Datari car. So similar accident to that of Micklemore and Skurlock before, in all honesty. They're just Witcher and Aidan Schultz getting into contact with each other, and Schultz just going around there as he's caught the front of Justin Witcher. So big accident there on lap 186.
So we'll have another look at this on board with Michael Skurlock, because I think he's done a Ruben Phelps here and just driven underneath another car flying through the air. We jump on board with Skurlock here. Just watch this car. It's just going through the smoke and just running up over the bonnet there. That is unbelievable. Whatever's left of the bonnet on that car. So Josh Micklemore, Michael Skurlock's night not necessarily panning out how they'd anticipated.
Yeah, it's got some luck there. That was, I would say, cautions breed cautions, unfortunately, and that's yet another example of it in its finest. This has helped out Lachlan Acquio, returning from a knee injury. He's managed to get back on the lead lap, so that's some good news for Lockie U in the ANZAC racing car. So he's going to be on the lead lap now, and he's just going to have short time to get this one done, so he's going to be in a relatively good position from this one. It's going to help out Neil Pearson. He's got a lot less time to stay up in front, of course, but he has had a few good launches away. Everybody's seen him run away at the start of the session, so they now are on to his game. So will it be as easy this time? We are down to 12 laps remaining. Going to be 11 laps, I think, once the pace car comes in. We're going to have pretty much a 10-lap shootout here.
Yeah, and importantly, Andrew Dyson will line up on the bottom side of the track. So he'll be there to help his teammate out. So we've now got DPR, Mitch Motorsport, and DPR as our front two rows on this restart. And I guarantee you Neil Pearson will be thankful for that. They'll be on the radio to one another, just having a chat about it. And you generally would think that Dyson will get the advantage here with the restart, because Pearson will tell him when he's going to bounce and get out of there. So that should help him hopefully get the jump on Danny G, who's going to be in front of him. And they do also have to consider that Ruben Phelps is there too, along with Philip Worley. So there are 3 DPR cars, 2 Mitch and 1 solo flyer. You can see JCW just behind him, Luke Trahere, and then Steve Williams in that fourth DPR car, I should say, as there's 4 of them there. He's in 9th position.
Yeah, Barry Neal doing a stellar job up in P10 as well in the Atari car. Really nice job for him up there. He's got Dave Douglas behind him. So Dave Douglas, long-time commentator and part-time driver this year, but doing another stellar job out there. It's good to see him back on track, and he is always good on these fast tracks. He's one to keep an eye out for. So definitely keep an eye out for Mr. Dave Douglas and see how that one goes. but gotta say, it's gonna be a very interesting finish here. It's going to be an absolute sprint to the end of this one as they are lining up side by side. Pace car light's going to go out this time. We're going to have 10 laps remaining. We are in for an exciting finish. Hopefully, touch wood, that was our last wreck of the night. We won't see the yellow out again. We won't see that pace car out again tonight, and we will see a nice green finish to this race. And
absolutely.
A big thank you as well to all of you joining us tonight. We would not be able to do this without you guys watching, and of course joining us in the future as well, watching on replay. Big thank you to as well. It all helps us out, and we love having you here with us because it is so much fun broadcasting these races, and we wouldn't be able to do it without you guys watching.
Do smash that like, subscribe, follow button on whichever platform you're watching on as well, because that does help contribute to the growth of our channel, and we certainly appreciate you doing it. Plus means that you don't miss out on any of the races that we're covering, along with the highlights and things that we're starting to produce. The amount of content coming out of the channel is increasing, so don't miss out. Make sure you follow us as it says on the screen there, and we would certainly be thankful for that as the cars queue up here. Look at that great sight there, 2 Mitch, 2 DPR cars, as we are going to get a restart underway here. And just waiting for Neil Pearson to drop the hammer, and he's done it. And he's off and running. Andrew Dyson looking like he got a good jump with it. Jason Martin just closed up on the door there, but it is Danny G who's going to get through into second place here. And in fact, Jason Martin's going to go through with him, retain third position with Andrew Dyson slotting you behind there. And the maintain position, Ruben Phelps in fifth, as Dyson looks to jump down the inside here, as well as so does Danny G, getting aggressive on the restart with 10 to go. He's down, couldn't quite get underneath him there, and in fact it is Andrew Dyson who's got down underneath Jason Martin, so he's making the big push for third place. He's in a rich vein of form at the moment, so don't be too surprised for him to close this one out, as he does close the move on, and he'll be in the chase now for Danny G. Just got a little close to the apron there, and the car just got a little loose too. That's penalised him a bit. And Jason Martin retains that third position. Ruben Phelps looking to go through with him, but not quite able to get it done. He's just on the outside of him there. So Dyson under pressure here. And looks like Phelps is in a good position, getting the draft from Jason Martin in front of him, as Danny G puts the pressure on Pearson at the front.
Yeah, Danny G applying the screws at the moment to Pearson. He's really putting the pressure on, but Pearson is able to choose that high line, which we've seen work very well so far. Just behind them as well, there's Joshua Carroll, JCW. He's in a DPR sandwich. You got to say, he has got a lot of DPRs around him at the moment, but he is trying to battle his way through there. We've seen that the Atari car has got some good single lap, some early lap paces. Danny G tries to get underneath Pearson. Pearson's back end just steps out a little bit. It's going to cost Pearson a little bit of time on the exit of this corner. Danny G could have an opportunity here. He's going to get good drive off the corner. He gets underneath Pearson right now. That's going to put Pearson wide. Will Danny G be able to hold this position? We know that high line has better drive off the corner, but these are much fresher tyres, remember. It's going to be side by side as they come across the dogleg. Danny G on the inside, Pearson on the outside. You can see Jason Martin in the background catching up to these two. He might be the balancing factor as we've got 5 laps remaining here tonight. Pearson has got that outside line. He should get better drive off, but Jason Martin might be able to help push his teammate forwards here. Danny G is right on it. He's really pushing Pearson up there. Pearson's having to run that high line and just ease off the accelerator a little bit early, but get on it a little bit earlier as well, as he just slots back in front of Danny G for the moment. But this has let Jason Martin catch right up to his teammate.
Yeah, absolutely. We're coming up on a slower car here as well. Let us stick to the high line there. That is well done. I think that is the 5 of Scott Griffiths. It was Josh Micklemore. My apologies to Scott Griffiths there. So 5 of Josh Micklemore, as those Mitch boys will be looking to push one another through here. Guarantee you, as Luke Trahare in the background making a move on Philip Worley as well. But I guarantee you Neil Pearson would be preferring that it was Andrew Dyson who was coming up behind him here to enable him to get the pushes. We've got 4 to go. And the 2 Mitch Motorsport boys, Danny G and Jason Martin, need to work together here to push themselves right up onto the back of Pearson if they're going to position themselves for a charge at the end. Looks like Andrew Dyson's gaining on Jason Martin as well, so he, I think, will join this battle as we head around with 3 to go. And it is Ruben Phelps in 5th position with Philip Worley, Luke Trahead, Joshua Carroll-Walden, Raymond Yeager and Stephen Williams rounding out our top 10. But the battle is very firmly fixed at the front here with these 4. It's DPR, Mitch and DPR in this battle with 3 to go. Neil Pearson leading. He has led a majority of this race, battling most of the night with Jason Martin, who's currently sitting in 3rd. And it is Daniel G, just not quite at this stage able to close the gap, albeit he's got a good run on him here. And he's probably going to try and push down the inside. Jason Martin would have wanted to go with him there to be able to help his teammate out. Potentially even try and box Pearson up, but not able to do that there. So it's going to be a drag race pretty much at the moment with 2 to go between Pearson and Danny G. They've broken away a little bit from those behind them.
Is really close. Andrew Dyson is right on the back of Jason Martin as well, which is just stopping Jason from being able to help his teammate out too much. We are going to be seeing the white flag very, very shortly here as Neil Pearson's just coming up to a couple more lapped cars. This could be integral to this finish of this race as the white flag is out. Pearson has got a good lead over Danny G at the moment. I think that's Maddie Raymond up there. Unfortunately not so clean tonight. Pearson just catches the bottom of the apron. He keeps the car going. Lost a little bit of time there, but not enough by the looks of it. It looks like Pearson is going to hold this position. Danny G needs a super draft right here to make it work, but I think he is too far behind at the moment. Danny G is going to be coming up there. You've got Andrew Dyson right behind Jason Martin. It's going to be a photo finish between those guys, but it is Neil Pearson taking out the win with Danny G 2nd, Jason Martin 3rd, Andrew Dyson 4th, Ruben Phelps taking out P5 at the end. What a spectacular drive from start to finish for Neil Pearson.
Absolutely, survived a whole night of pressure with that very, very clean first 3 stints. Car not quite as strong towards the tail end of those stints, but a cracking drive from Pearson on the restarts, getting away nice and cleanly each time with 3 very, very short period stints for him to get things done. And he has taken out this 200 lap episode here at Charlotte, and he is going to have a big celebration down towards the infield there in the number 9 Simrix.com entry on behalf of DPR, who had a really strong top 10, in fact, for their team. Pearson, Dyson, Worley, Steve Williams all making it inside the top 10. And so that's a fantastic result for them as a team as well. So good setup on their car, remembering tonight was an open setup. So they've done really well in that entry to get the job done. Not to take away anything from the Mitch Motorsport guys as well. Danny G and Jason Martin finishing in 2nd and 3rd. And they had a cracking run all night. Great pace from them. Josh Micklemore as well. Good pace until his incident. But the Mitch Motorsport guys, they're doing a fantastic job to take out 2nd and 3rd here tonight.
Yeah, another mention as well, Raymond Yeager up in P10, rounding out the top 10 finishes there in the Activity Hub Barley car. 12 positions gained, but a really strong finish there, just managing to pit Barry Neal to the post. Barry Neal as well, 17 positions gained in that race. Not the biggest position gainer, because Stephen Williams did take that out, but Barry Neal we saw coming in very early. He was running those early stints, but it did pay out for him in the end, so he managed to get up there in the top 11. But yeah, that was a spectacular finish. The fireworks were definitely flying for Neil Pearson tonight, because he really proved to be the cream of the crop tonight. He just absolutely got that car working perfectly for him. It was struggling a little bit towards the end of the stints, but where it mattered over the short lap pace, especially at the end there with those cautions, it paid off for Pearson, taking out the victory tonight, and that is going to be good for his championship as well. We didn't get a chance to talk over the championship standings before we started this race, but it was Josh Micklemore leading, 12 points ahead of Michael Skurlock, 46 points ahead of Neil Pearson, and 60 points ahead of his teammate Jason Martin, 73 points ahead of Danny G. So this is going to be a really good night for Jason Martin, Danny G and Neil Pearson. It's going to help their championship standings for sure after an unfortunate incident between Skurlock and Josh Micklemore.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll get the podium into the booth in a minute or two. In fact, probably not even that long, with the guys just trickling in there now. And we will get our post-race interviews on and done. So let's get the guys in here now.
So we will start off with third place tonight. Third place finisher, the 21 of the Mitch Motorsport driver, Jason Martin. Congratulations on that P3 finish, Jason. On paper, you started third, you finished third, but it was a lot different in the race. That was a long one. We saw some great fighting for you, and a solid finish for the team.
Oh, cheers, mate. Yeah, that race had absolutely everything. There was a bunch of different strategies and people that could go hard early on tyres and people that had to save them. Yeah, that was fun.
We saw with you guys that you seem to have really, really good long run pace, and you could keep those cars out there pretty much all night almost. You had the pace over the rest of the field on the long run, at least, and able to just keep it out there that little bit longer. Obviously, that late caution really hurt you towards the end there.
I was spewing when I saw that yellow. I didn't want that at all. Yeah, we had two choices of setups, one that was good for a short run and one that was good for long runs, and we picked the long run, and things were looking pretty good for a while there.
Yeah, very much so. We saw you really battling it out with Pearson in the early stages of the race as well. Uncharacteristic mistake from you as well, just catching the apron. I'm not sure if you remember it now, very early in the race when you got past Pearson. Were you just struggling a little bit sort of in that earlier sort of mid-run pace, or was it just a little bit of a mistake?
A bit of both. The car wasn't very good until about lap 30, and I just made a bit of a mistake down low, got too low, and but after lap 30, that's when it really came into its own.
No, it definitely looked that way, and we saw, as I said, some strong running from you out there. It was a good race in the end, and this is going to be good for your championship standings as well, getting towards the chase, of course, as we are at this stage of the season. Not that much longer to go. I mean, still a while, but this is over the halfway point now for you, so you must be feeling pretty confident towards getting into the chase right now.
Yeah, as long as I can keep my nose clean, I'm hoping I should be okay, and that's my main aim at the moment.
Well, fingers crossed we see that. Another strong finish from you, Jason. Good to have you back up here in the booth, and as usual, love and shout-outs to your sponsors.
First of all, bad luck to Hamish with connection issues and Josh at the end there. Things were looking good for us in the first 75% of the race. So well done to all the Mitch Motorsports guys. Well done, Dan. Well done, Neil, on the win. BK Designs, got to thank them. And, of course, you guys, FMG Esports, for putting on the broadcast.
You're always welcome, Jason. Thank you so much. Jason Martin of Mitch Motorsport. We will now jump up to Jason's teammate, Danny G. Danny, welcome back to the booth. Nice to have you up here, mate.
Hey, fellas, it's good to be here.
Been a bit of time since the last spoke to you. Congratulations on a very strong finish there at the end. Looked like it was very close between you and Neil Pearson, especially on that last restart. How were you feeling coming towards the end of that race?
I've never really raced Neil too much before, so I wasn't too sure. I got under him, I think, on that one. I think the first lap on the last restart. He sort of went down to block me. I sort of gave him a bit of room, and had another shot later on where I got beside him on the inside, but I just couldn't carry the speed, and he drove away from me.
Yeah, did you feel that sort of the short run pace wasn't there for you on that restart?
Well, we were a little bit worried about the short run speed because, our car's definitely, like Jason said, lit up after 30 laps. But I sort of stuck with him, and I was getting some good draft, and I was like, I've got a shot, I can get there. But it was just, in the end, he drove away a little bit.
It didn't quite work out perfectly for you, but you had a really strong night tonight. Obviously, qualifying not quite as high as you probably would have wanted in P12, but still up there in a relatively strong spot. And we saw a good, strong race from you as well, working your way up the field through the early stages, especially in that nice long green period.
Yeah, I must have been probably the quickest car out there because I ended up catching the leaders by around 60, or I started to catch back up to them before the first pit stop. So, I was pretty happy with the car.
Yeah, it was something I sort of did notice on the timing screens. You were lighting it up fastest at the stages, and you looked to be in pretty much control, especially towards the end of those stints. I mean, obviously we have from Jason there as well about the late caution, but I imagine when you saw that yellow fly, you just had a sinking feeling.
Yeah, a little bit. I think we would have come 1 through 4. I'm not sure if we would have lapped everybody, but yeah, it was definitely looking good for us.
Yeah, we saw you were able to carry that little bit longer stint, going to sort of around that 67, 68 lap mark, of course, and pitting on the magical lap to get home as well. It was looking very good towards the end there, but unfortunately, as is motorsport, it doesn't always work the way you want it to.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm pretty happy with second. That's a good point today, and a bit of confidence heading on to the next rounds.
Yeah, that's it. It's always nice to get a good finish, and I imagine it's a good feeling to know that you did a good setup as well. You guys looked very strong out there, and how different was it for you guys to have an open setup race?
It's a little bit different because you spend pretty much last weekend, Josh, Jace, spent a lot of work on a setup, and then at the beginning of the week we thought we were way off, and they're throwing setups together, and we ended up just sort of settling on one for this race, and that's what we went with, and yeah, it wasn't too bad.
Congratulations on a great team effort out there. 2 of your cars up in the top 3, of course. Unfortunate to see Hamish out with the connectivity issues, and unfortunate as well to see Josh Wickerwald with that incident, but another strong finish for the team and a great finish for yourself up there in P2. Danny, thank you ever so much for that, and of course, as always, thank you very much for all the hard work you do for the ANZCAR League.
Thank you, and congrats to Neil and Jace.
Yeah, and before we let you slither off, the usual shout out and love to your sponsors.
Bob King and just Mitch Motorsports. You guys for putting on the broadcast. It's always awesome. And that's about it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Danny G there of Mitch Motorsport. And finally, just waiting his turn patiently. I imagine he's not too happy about this outcome. I imagine he's a little bit disappointed with his performance tonight. Mr. Neil Pearson, congratulations on that dominant victory.
Thank you very much. It was really good. Not as dominant as it looks on paper. I kind of rolled myself with the first stop, pitting a little bit short, and I was going to have to pit if it stayed green towards the end. So that caution coming out with about 50 laps to go really saved my race.
Yeah, we did mention that in the broadcast. We were following those numbers quite closely. So how close was it going to be on fuel for you for that last stint?
It was showing 5 litres I needed when I was trying to save fuel, and I just went bugger it and then just took off. And I think I put as much space as I could between everyone and just hard as I could. And then I was going to pit in and see where I filtered out, because that's pretty much all I could do with that sort of deficit. It's just too much to save.
Yeah, that's it. It was, we were very much of that, it's just short there. But that caution came out pretty much at the right time. How close were you to coming in on the green flag stop before that caution came out, Neil?
I was going to roll it, just sit about 20 laps to go. Just go as long as you can, because there's no point, if you've got the fuel to keep going and the pace, there's no point pitting early, because the caution can come out and then you've just lost your chance. So I was just going to go as long as I could and then come down, splash and go out. But yeah.
It worked out very well for you. One thing we sort of noticed a little bit through your stints was you looked like you were struggling a little bit more towards the end of the stint after about 40 or so laps. Was that the case for you?
Yeah. For some reason, I just couldn't get the entry right. When I was trying to get the set working through the week, I just couldn't get entry on long runs. It's just, it was just confusing me. So I just went with what I had, and thankfully it paid out in the end.
Yeah, look, you had some absolute great short run pace out there tonight, and a little bit of luck coming your way tonight, as you said. On paper, this looks like an absolute dominating win, of course, with the pole and the win. And fastest lap as well. So, you took out the hat trick there. So congratulations on that one. But wasn't so easy in that race, as you say. If that caution didn't come out, it was looking very grim for you. But I'm glad it worked out for you, Neil. Congratulations on that race, because it was not easy. You had a lot of battles as well.
Yeah, it was very hard. Those, like, I know Jason and Danny are saying that they were slow on the short runs, but they were quick. I don't know what they were doing, like with tape wise, but I think they might have been running pretty high tape because they had some straight line speed that I just didn't seem to have. That they could clear me, so I really had to be defensive in places and then just run. Like, I think when Daniel got a run around the inside of me with about 6 or so to go, I just had to hold it wide open through the top groove. And thankfully I was able to keep him behind me and just get the gap out a little bit. And yeah, kept it.
How nervous were you a little bit? I don't know, you might remember this one during the race when you had Jason and Michael Skurlock over the back of you and you were having to defend against 2 cars.
That was, I think, in the first run. They had pretty good long distance speed, and yeah, I was just going to let them go because there was no point just holding everyone up and causing an accident. I think that's what I ended up doing.
Congratulations, Neil, and another victory for DPR as well in the Cup Series. It's been a very strong couple of weeks for the team.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. We also had 4 cars inside the top 10, which is really good. So we're looking at hopefully getting a couple more guys into the chase. So I think Daiso finished 4th, I think, which will be good for his points, and Steve with the top 10 as well. So it's good. It's hopefully that'll push him up a bit through. We'll have a few drivers in the top 10.
That's it. Andrew Dyson coming into this race was sitting in 10th place in the championship after that win at Kota, and Stephen Williams down in 14th place, but that's really going to help out for you guys getting some more drivers into the chase, and just a really strong season so far for you. We've seen some really good runs from you, and win number 3 for you this year in the Cup. Congratulations, Neil Pearson.
Thank you very much.
And before I let you go away and get a well-deserved drink and probably a good stretch from the sim, usual thing of shout out and love to your sponsors.
Yeah, just want to thank you guys, the great broadcast. I'm looking forward to go watching it. Maybe not the whole race, but I'll probably skip a few. ANZCAR putting on a great series. Running this open setup race is just it was a great idea. It was a lot of fun to have a one-off open setup race. And then just simrigs.com, Southwell Lifts and Hoists, Ben Max Mechanical, BetSmart Racing Services, NP Designs, and also just the DPR boys. You know, we put a bit of work into this week, and it's been a lot of fun trying to get them, you know, like just everyone up to speed and have some fun. And just the Mitch Motorsport boys and Skurlock as well. It was really good battles all through the night. Really hard, clean, fair racing. So it was a lot of fun and probably one of the best races I've ever had in iRacing. So I'm pretty happy right now.
I'm so glad to hear that, and thank you so much for putting on such a great show, all 3 of you. Of course, we are heading to everybody's favourite track, Sonoma, next time out. You must be pretty happy with that one, Neil, because we know you're pretty good on the old road courses. Sonoma, though, not everybody's favourite.
No, it's not one of my favourites. I mean, I was a bit disappointed when I found out. I had a look at the schedule and saw all the road courses. It's, you know, traditionally there's only been 2 road courses, and now there's like, it feels like half the schedule is road courses. And I'm very upset we're not going to Indianapolis Oval as well. That's one of my all-time favourite tracks.
Yeah, very much so. It's a shame not to be heading to Indy for the Oval. We'll be doing the road course, but it's not quite the same. Look, good luck to you all next time out at Sonoma, and we hope to see you back in the booth in a short time.
I hope to be here.
Thank you ever so much, guys. So, Stuart, end of the Charlotte race. 200 laps tonight, with so many of them under green. What great driving standards out there tonight. We did see those cautions, unfortunately, but with so many laps under green there, with such a field in racing, such close racing as well, we saw some brilliant action out there.
Yeah, absolutely we did. And fair to say as well, the only other thing I am excited about is that it has kept alive the battle for Skurlock to take out the Simmerig that's up for grabs. So that's still up in the air after the unfortunate finish to his race tonight. But overall, plenty of side-by-side action as there currently is on screen at the moment between Danny G and Neil Pearson in the replay there with Jason Martin in the background. That's pretty much how it was all night. So a fantastic run for everyone here, and I echo the sentiments. A really good race with the variety because of the different setups.
Yeah, that's it. And the next round, the final round for Skirley to take out the rig is going to be Darlington, first race of the chase on 26th of August. Still a bit of time away, but Skirley has to do it again in Darlington. He did it last time. Can he do it one more time? That's the big question, and he's going to be hoping for that one. Heartbreak for a few drivers out there tonight, but as is often the case in motorsport, it is always on a knife edge of how it's going to go. It's either going to be jubilation or heartbreak and failure. Another good run as well, got to say, from Ruben Phelps up there. The only single car driver in the top 10. So really good job from Ruben Phelps to get there in P5. But some great driving throughout the field, really. We saw some brilliant options out there and some good strategy as well, which is what we like to see sometimes. A little bit of different strategy does change things up a bit.
Yeah, absolutely it does. So that was a fantastic race. So obviously jump back in and have a look through the highlights. We're going to put together some stuff over the week, of course. Based in Melbourne, we're back into lockdown over the next few days, so plenty of time for doing some stuff. So do keep your eye out for that as it comes through. But this is our final stream for the week. It is ANZCAR Cup Thursday on FGM eCast. Thanks to AJ Insurance Services. My apologies there. And Carl, that just about wraps it up for us tonight. We're back on Monday night with the trucks, Tuesday with the finale of the Oz Pro-Am Sim Series. That is at Spa, an endurance race, and then of course back again with the double header here for ANZCAR with the Thunder Series and the Cup.
Yeah, that's it. It's going to be a busy week next week. Going to be looking forward to it. And we hope you can all join us here for that one as well. We look forward to seeing you all again. Big thank you to everybody that has watched tonight and watched in the future as well. And as usual, if you could just hit that subscribe button, a little bit of that like button, it does help out the old algorithm to help more people reach us in the future. But thank you very much for joining us tonight. And as always, thank you, Stuart, for all your hard work you do in the booth and behind the scenes as well. And we will see you all next week for the start of the streaming schedule again for FGM eCast Ferguson Group Media. That will be at Gateway for the Truck Series. So we look forward to seeing you then.
Likewise, Carl, thank you very much. And FGM eCast, your E place for pace. That's it from us. Good night. And we will see you next week.